We are tonight's entertainment.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Excellent!
Hello everyone, welcome to an episode of the Movie Mania podcast, where we talk films past, present, and future. I am Sherman Trey White of Podcast Media, and joining me are the men, the myths, the legends. They're here, and they're here to bargain. Trilbee and Bandit.
Hello!
Hello!
I'm here, everyone.
iTunes, I've come to bargain.
I slept through everything.
iTunes, I've come to bargain.
iTunes, I've come to bargain.
I've come to bargain. Alright.
One of us should just be like that Woo guy who just never laughs until the very end.
Oh, Wong. Yep.
Wong, yeah.
Hello, Beyonce.
That's fine. How
are you guys?
I'm
Good.
doing fine. I'm doing okay. I'm excited to see how this next week plays out. Apparently,
Will Doctor Strange win at the box office?
Yeah, shocker. Trolls is surprising upset. 3 a.m. Trey. We talked about this last week, Trilbee. Me and you had that conversation about how my friends call it 3 a.m. Trey. Like once it gets to that point early, like late at night, I get really like philosophical when I'm really sleepy. And I had another busy weekend because I did 2 volunteer things back to back, which was essentially like jobs, and they were not. It was fun, but it was very tiring. And so I didn't get home until about 1 o'clock, and then I had to get up at 6 to go do this other thing, and it was really exhausting. And then I did nothing but homework and chores on Saturday, and so now I haven't gotten any sleep. So yeah, I'm 3 a.m. Trey again. But how are you guys doing? Yeah.
Really doing good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Apologies to all our listeners for my shoddy editing last week, because there's a bit where your grandpa Trey knocks on the door and you're like, oh, I'll be right back. Yeah. And then there's just like 2 minutes of just silence and occasionally like Trilbee sniffing or something. Or just you know.
It's just silence and you hear brrr.
I'm just because I had a really bad cold like last weekend, so I'm just imagining that maybe I haven't listened to it back, but maybe because you're self-conscious when you're thinking, okay, I'm not going to sniff in front of people because it's really impolite, and then once they've left, you just go. I'm just expecting that now.
Like you walk away, it's just like this huge like snort of, or it's like this huge like you're blowing your nose like you hack a giant loogie. Yeah.
Oh, my desk
like
is just
you pop up the
with
girl and
cocaine.
you let out a giant fart after the first date. What?
There's just cocaine littered on my desk. Speaking of potential criminalities, if you do hear lots of bangs and explosions in the background of my audio, it is not gangland violence. It is just lots of fireworks happening.
Oh, all right, right on. What was I gonna? Someone commented last week on last week's podcast. It said on YouTube. They said my favorite part was I'm like, what's so special about this part? I skipped to it. It was the part where my grandpa came into the room. I was like, he didn't cut it out. I hadn't gotten that far yet. Yeah, but this week's gonna be all about Doctor Strange, guys, and some other movie news that have occurred. And I don't think we have any homework. But we'll get to that later. That being said, guys, let's get to the movie news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
All right, guys, this is the movie news portion of the show. Christ. In which case, we talk about the movie news that came out over the course of the last week. For starters, Wonder Woman trailer. Bandit, your thoughts?
Wonder Woman trailer. Yeah, really liked it. Really good. Very colourful. A little bit of humour. It's seems to be giving us all the things that we've been saying we want to see with DC, but we said that with the Suicide Squad trailers too. So
I kind of want. Why can't the movies like? This is going to be a pet peeve of mine. The DC films don't know how to shoot daytime very well, apparently, because like daytime for them always looks like 5:00 p.m. Like it's about to the sun's about to start setting, even though sometimes it's like 12 o'clock noon. I'm like, what? I don't know. It's always like why does daytime have to look so dreary and sad? Even in this trailer, when Steve Trevor's flying around in his plane, like this, it looks all sad, but the trailer does look good. I'm very excited for this flick. Gal Gadot finally shows more than one range of emotion. She looks sad, which is nice.
This time she shows 2.
Yes, this time she
we're
has
slowly
2.
getting there.
Yeah, which it gets me excited, and I just feel like this feels to me the most complete film right now. I feel like they're gonna let this be a regular movie. They're not trying to set up a big franchise with it because it's set in this different time period. They're not trying to, turn it into some kind of, teen love and pop culture music song rap video nonsense that they did with Suicide Squad. They're just gonna let it be what Patty Jenkins and now I guess Jeff Johns want the movie to be, and it looks really cool. Yeah.
I think I don't like the last 20 seconds. Like, I don't like the end gag, and I don't like the...
It's not very funny, is it?
Not a fan.
It's got that moment in the trailer where you're like, okay, there's going to be a joke here, and then it happens, you're like, I guess that was a joke?
I disagree. I quite like the joke. I like the thing. I always have a thing. I don't know. Maybe it's just like because
going back to what you were saying, Trey, about the colors, though, I did notice most of the bright and happy stuff does happen on Paradise Island. Not so much in
not in World War One.
Not in World War One. No, you can't make that bright and happy. But
nah. But I also,
if they can't make a place called Paradise Island look bright and happy, then they're really in trouble. So that's good.
I doubt they're going to call it Paradise Island. I guarantee you they're going to call it the Mascara, but whatever.
Yeah. Maybe. But I also didn't like the music cue for the logo because that just reminds me of Batman v Superman, and I was triggered by that music. But yeah, apart from that, I love the trailer. I just can't get hyped because of Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad. Part of me just wants to be hyped.
I want to get into it, but part of me is like, but remember those other times? And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, we got great trailers. Like, even now, I'm watching the trailer as we speak, and there's a great shot of when Steve Trevor first, the plane first crashes. Just the ocean's very beautiful and blue, and just if this one's good, like this is essentially this like they're on strike. In many ways, they're on strike 3 for a lot of people. This is like this is their opportunity to save themselves before they, like Steve Trevor's plane, sink into the ocean because Suicide Squad was trash. Batman Superman was trash. I can't handle a third trash DC film, and this is it for female-led superhero movies, at least from DC's part. If this fails, then it's the nail in the coffin.
DC is like that girlfriend that you're almost always on the verge of breaking up with, but she always manages to pull it back just enough from the precipice. But eventually, there's a point where you're just like, you know what? I'm done. I've had enough of this.
See, that's me with The Walking
DC.
Dead. Yeah.
DC is basically Saddam Hussein in the South Park movie. I can change.
I just feel like you're never
there.
That's
a very old reference.
Hey, feel old, kids. But the thing that makes me just have a slight glimmer of hope for Wonder Woman is that the trailers for Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad were more selling like novelty, like, oh, Batman and Superman are fighting each other, and the Suicide Squad trailer was new Joker, Harley Quinn for the first time, and this villain team up. And it actually feels like Wonder Woman might be trying to say something, because World War One was it was predominantly dominated by men. It was a war by men, for men, against men, and stuff like that. There's that scene where Wonder Woman, who's basically one of the most iconic female characters of all time, goes onto no man's land to deflect the bullets from the Germans. And I think the movie might be trying to say something there or having some sort of idea, and I'm wondering what they're going to try and how they're going to view World War One in this context through this lens. And I think that this might be the first DC movie that's, God forbid, about something, and that's kind of what's getting my hopes up a bit.
Well, what do you mean when you say about something, like a message of any kind?
Well, basically the moral of Batman v Superman is vigilante justice is bad unless I say it's okay, and then I'll try and kill you. The moral of Suicide Squad is music videos are cool.
Yeah, Eminem, yeah.
Yeah, and Wonder Woman might actually be trying to do something more substantial than that. I don't know. Like that's just what I'm getting from the trailer that I didn't get from previous DC trailers, apart from Man of Steel, which was just trying to be a new spin on First Contact.
I don't need my movies to have messages inherently. I just want a good flick. Just give me a good action flick. That's all.
You can have both.
You can, but at this rate, I don't want DC to try too hard and try to make this another big deal film. Just make it a nice, good film. You know, make it like a Doctor Strange or an Ant-Man. Like, oh, that was good job. Yeah, I like that.
I'm not going to say that Wonder Woman will not be a good movie if it's not about something. It's just that it doesn't. It just feels like it's going to be more narratively ambitious than its predecessors. Like even
I don't want ambition at this point from DC. I just want just
narrative. Okay,
you see what I'm saying? Like I think we've had conversations like this before. I don't need DC trying to make something special or something incredible. Just make a good film. That's all I'm asking. It doesn't have to be a 10 out of 10. 7.5 will do fine for me right now.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys been talking about the Wonder Woman trailer with? How about you, Bandit?
Yeah, I think it just goes back to with DC. Like they still seem to be struggling to find their feet in respect of, like, they don't want to be too much like Marvel, but they can't go too much the other way and being too dark and serious either. And goes back to, like, what we said on the show before. Just do it like it is in the comics. You know, if you don't know what else to do, just stick to that and you'll be okay. That's a tried and true method. There's a reason doing it that way has worked for the comics for so long. Just do it like that. And the characters interact with each other really well. Just, it's all there for you. You don't have to think, which is great, Warner Brothers.
Yes, please stop trying to think, Warner Brothers.
Yes, please stop trying to be creative. Just you're not good at it.
Funny enough, I'm about to criticize Doctor Strange for not being innovative enough, and I'm telling me I'm to Wonder Woman. It's like having kids, and one kid like constantly gets A's, and so when they get a B, you're like, what's going on? But then there's always just kid that just brings home F's and horrible grades, and one day they bring home a C. It's like, good job, now we're getting somewhere. It's just,
good job. You are not going in the chamber of fire today.
Precisely. It's all about perspective. Trilbee, didn't you have a story you wanted to read, or how's that?
Yes, this dropped like a week ago, and the reason I didn't, I couldn't podcast straight away was because I was writing this up for geekfeed.com. Go and stuff your geek holes, folks.
Your story was a plug? All right.
No. Wonder Woman is going in for reshoots in 2 weeks' time. And they're returning to their castle and their period sets in Leavesden in the UK to do reshoots in 2 weeks' time. The cast and crew are all back. This is not inherently a bad thing. Just want to stress that. Back to the Future.
It's DC.
It's one of the most awesome movies of all time.
Doomed, even though
if it's DC, it might, because DC and reshoots don't go well together. Remember when they pushed back Batman Superman for that long delay of time to fix the movie or help make the movie more cohesive? Do you remember that happened, guys?
Possibly.
How about when Suicide Squad went back for reshoots in, what was it, 3-4 months before the film even came out, and then we all know what ended up happening.
But these reshoots are clearly, they've already been planned because the sets that they built in Leavesden are still there. They don't need to be constructed again. These reshoots were always part of the plan. And yeah, I don't think it's inherently a bad thing. Like Back to the Future had like 30% reshoots because they had to recast Marty McFly halfway during production. So reshoots aren't inherently a bad thing.
That's no excuse because
Force Awakens had reshoots.
Yes, it did, and Force Awakens turned out to be a good film. You know what else had DC has had 2 films do reshoots. That's not an excuse. I hate it. No, I'm getting real sick of everyone going,
Doctor Strange had reshoots.
Yes, it did. I think it suffered for it. Clearly, the comedy did not mess well. Well, we'll get to that later.
Civil War had reshoots.
What?
Civil War had reshoots.
Yes, and it shows, but it's still a great film. My point here is, DC is the one that's been having reshoots, and every time it's been trash. That's all I'm saying.
You're talking to someone who can't watch the Wonder Woman trailer without getting like back into therapy for Batman v Superman. I'm trying to be positive here.
I know. I'm telling you that I can't be positive right now because I've been burned too many times. I've wasted too much money on these DC crap. Sorry.
Just don't buy the extended cut.
Hey, while we're on DC, I just uploaded a video just about it had the I don't know if you're going to cover this in the news stuff about the Batman the script problems rumor.
That's not true. You're going to be fine. That's
not true.
It really, that story felt really shady. Like, someone who we can't speak to, an anonymous source says that a friend through a friend says that the Batman script's not very good.
Bandit, do you remember the Reddit Batman Superman review? Do you remember that from earlier this year? Remember we had a big debate about that and whether or not we should cover things like that, their news, and who ended up giving that movie a 0 out of 10?
Not really, but I'll take your word for it.
You
I
don't
don't really
remember
remember it, but
that?
I'll take your word for it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
it was a
remember
massive thing. It was a massive thing on Reddit, and like all the news websites picked it up, saying, "Oh, the plot of Justice League has been revealed because somebody says that they saw an early screening," and it was talking about how Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor was a phenomenally complicated character, and that all the Justice League would come in at the very end, and everyone just lapped it all up, and it was clearly fake at the time because they showed their ticket stubs. They showed their ticket stub for this Warner Brothers early screening.
This
and it was clearly
has
not
a
one.
little bit more credibility because it seems like something executives would say, that they go to executives and say, here's like all the problems wrong with this script, and they're like, we don't care because it's Batman. It's going to make loads of money because it's Batman. And
here's what I'll say about
that.
that.
Aren't going to speak English, and they can't understand anything if they didn't speak English.
Yes.
And when I read it, I was like, that sounds like something executives would say, but I don't know.
Here's
you
what
think
I
they
will
would have
say.
learned their lesson by now?
Here's what I will say about that. It is not the executive's job to ensure that the film is at its utmost quality. It is at the job of the creators and the people making the films themselves. The executive's job is to first and foremost make money. Filmmaking is a business. It is a multi-billion-dollar business, a corporation. While I may not agree with some of the choices they made, to say something like, oh, well, it's still going to make money in China, or in maybe not China specifically, but in foreign countries around the world, no matter what, is not inherently false, because Batman films do extremely well, and films like Terminator Genesis and Warcraft have proven, and Pacific Rim have proven that if you get your film released internationally, no matter what people may consider to be script problems, are irrelevant. And we've gone over stuff like that before on the show.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, that's
I'm
true.
reading the story now, and this is scary.
Movies, movies
I
are a
agree with
business. That's true.
Yeah.
But bear in mind, Warner Brothers is also the same company that seems to make a habit out of cutting all of the best scenes out of their DC movies and then going, here's the super ultimate special director's ultimate cut edition.
Bandit,
Go and buy
agree
it.
with
And
you.
it's like, oh, God.
I agree with you, Bandit. We're on the same side of the
That's
situation
not good
here.
business,
I'm just letting. Oh no! Okay, you know what? You go ahead. Never mind.
See, the table is turned. Now I'm the one being negative, and you're the one being optimistic about DC. A few seconds ago, it was the other way around.
I'm not being optimistic. I'm letting you know that.
Where will the wheel land next time, kids?
I've missed this. I've missed this conversation.
Trey,
I've instantly
come to
turned back
bargain.
into a skeptic.
DC. Trey, I've come to bargain.
But yeah, I'm reading this news story about the Batman script apparently being a mess, and for some reason the source is the writer of American Psycho, who do they even have like a connection to the? I think it's the author of the book American Psycho, not the movie. And apparently he was talking to some Warner Brothers people, and he said that they went to the studio and said, here's 30 things wrong with the script. And the executives allegedly said, we don't care. We really don't care. The amount of money we're going to make globally, I mean, 70% of our audience is not going to see this in English. So it really doesn't matter. Like, well, what? This is really weird. This is a weird story. And I think it doesn't make sense from Warner Brothers' perspective, because Batman v Superman should have made $1 billion easy, without breaking a sweat. But the poor word of mouth meant that it didn't get to that mark. It only made only $800 million, which is way below what Warner Brothers were expecting because of the poor critical backlash. So clearly they think, okay, we can't just make $1 billion based on the Batman name alone. We've got to make these things good. So this comment doesn't really ring true to me. I don't know.
That's basically what I said in the video I uploaded last night. I was like, if they were saying that before Batman v Superman got released, I could understand that, because we all thought that. We all said, hey, it's Batman and Superman in a movie. It's going to succeed no matter what. But, that, like you said, doing $800 million kind of disproved that. So I thought, I don't believe even the Warner Brothers executives would be thinking this way still after everything. I think now more than ever they'd be like, yeah, let's try to get the script working. And Ben Affleck, hasn't he directly taken control of that movie because he wants to make sure it's not a nightmare?
Yeah,
I'd like to imagine.
I don't think he would
DC
write a script that has
on
tons
for
of
it when
problems.
I'd like to imagine DC said the moment he was cast as Batman, it's like, oh yeah, and you're going to direct the Batman movie, okay? He's like, all right. I'd like to imagine that maybe this teaches us to not cover stories like this anymore. But it's just a matter of I don't. people will say things and rumors will go around, and without any credibility, without any true form of reliability to them, they will get covered by a specific trade. They'll have a clickbait title, which will then lead to other trades going clickbait title, and suddenly we have Variety reporting that Batman's having script issues, and I think it proves to me that I think by not covering stories that clearly have no credibility behind them, it just kind of helps those stories go away and die. As opposed to
it's not like we're journalists that have to protect our reputation. And
no,
it's like,
but I
if
think
all
at
of our
the same
listeners
time...
are like, "Hey, the whole internet's talking about this and we don't cover it," then our listeners are going to kind of get annoyed. So I don't know, it's difficult.
I think a simple tweet saying we're not going to cover things that clearly aren't true. But it's just, I don't know. That's just something that kind of bothers me, because I know people that do that on their podcast all the time. I'm just like, if you have to say the phrase, this is clearly just a rumor, so don't take this with credit. I'm like, then why are you talking about it? Then why are you wasting time? Anyways,
because it
that's
is
just
it's true, I guess. How about we report it, but every 10 seconds we go, allegedly.
Yeah.
How about that?
No, I'm down for that. Allegedly, Batman allegedly has alleged script alleged problems. Allegedly.
Yeah.
All right. Scooping from allegedly to confirmedly, Deadpool 2 has lost its composer. So continuing on the trend of negativity and skepticism,
this
Junkie
is
XL.
official.
Yes, this is a real thing.
Junkie XL?
Junkie XL.
Oh, man.
He has left Deadpool 2. Yes.
That guy's great. He's the guy who did the Mad Max Fury Road music. He's done loads of music.
Yeah, he's probably the best part of Batman Superman, that being all that music. I loved all those themes in that movie. He's done a lot. He's work, and he's apparently left the project, which concerns me. It really starting to get a sense of shadiness here. I don't know why my skepticism is currently up to 12 right now during this podcast, but just
it's paranoid 3 a.m. Trey.
Yeah, there it is. It's like
the lizard people are coming to take my comic book movies.
Do you think maybe the reason Deadpool 2 seems to be having problems with people leaving, first the director, now the composer, do you think maybe that's got something to do with the rumors, allegedly, that Ryan Reynolds is kind of difficult to work with? Do you think?
No, I don't think it's about him being difficult. Right? I think it's about him. I think it's allegedly about them allegedly having issues. Actually, they came out and they said this about them apparently having issues with tone, with Tim Miller wanting to make a more stylized, more focused, apparently sequel, and Ryan Reynolds wanting to do more of what they did in the first film, which I think is a terrible idea. I think if you're going to do a sequel, you need to expand that world. Let Deadpool do some time travel if you're bringing in Cable, but whatever. Like, how cool would it be if Deadpool was like the 70s or something? But
have they cast Cable yet? Allegedly?
No. No, Ben. They have not allegedly cast Cable.
Well, apparently the dispute was between Tim Miller saying that he wanted the Deadpool 2 budget to be $150 million, which Ryan Reynolds didn't want. He wanted a much smaller film like the first one, which really puts into context the opening credits of Deadpool saying directed by an overpaid tool. I think that's just...
There's no way Tim Miller wanted $150 million for Deadpool 2.
Allegedly.
No way.
I've covered my ass.
I don't buy that for 1 second. I think what's happened here is that Ryan Reynolds has had a middling career at best. He's handsome and he's been in some good flicks, but he's not reached that level of movie star status. When your best film before Deadpool was like The Proposal with Sandra Bullock, I think it speaks for how good your career actually has been. And so I think now that Deadpool's come out and made $800 million, almost as much as Batman Superman, I think he wants to stay as comfortable as possible in his seat as movie star status, and I think he wants to stay in the realm of dick jokes, and he doesn't want to try to do anything different because different may get people on the wrong side. I think he's trying to keep himself safe and keep a movie career that he may want to keep. You know?
Hey, look, Ryan Reynolds, just as long as there's plenty of dick jokes in Deadpool 2 and you actually get a cameo from Hugh Jackman, we'll all be as happy as Larry.
Don't worry about the boring love story again, please. Yes. No more boring love stories. Please.
Yeah, just kill off that girlfriend and just have Deadpool be a bachelor. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Have the opening scene be Deadpool accidentally killing her or something like that. That'd be pretty funny.
Deadpool literally finding her in the fridge.
Or like have Kevin Spacey make a cameo and be like, "Oh yeah, this is a package from you," and he like it's her head inside a box.
But it's not Kevin Spacey playing anybody; it's just Kevin Spacey.
It's just actor Kevin Spacey.
Actor Kevin Spacey.
Okay. Is that all about the Deadpool composer?
There's one more Marvel composer news that just dropped in the past hour.
right,
Spider-Man:
well,
Homecoming will be composed. The score will be composed by Michael Giacchino, who did Doctor Strange.
Oh, he's on my bad side right now. He's on my list. Michael
because of
Giacchino.
Doctor Strange.
Really
because of that
hated
Doctor Strange score,
didn't you?
No, I really enjoy the film, but I just have a lot. I have because I went and saw it a second time last night, Saturday night, and I will tell you this: the first thing I noticed when I was watching through it, that Doctor Strange score is a talk about because like people we'll save this for when we talk about the actual movie, but I'm gonna write down Doctor Strange music. But Michael Giacchino's on my bad side, right?
But yeah, he's clearly Disney's golden boy at the moment for replacing Alexander Desplat for Star Wars Rogue One.
Beef shank. I hated that. I hated that too.
Oh, you brought back the beef shank. I was waiting for you to one day bring back that phrase of yours, that catchphrase.
Because me and Shelby swore up a storm last episode, so we have to try to like make up.
Yeah. But I love it how we've got like this revolving door of catchphrases of you, Trey. They're constantly like you don't say "that being said" or "neither here nor there" anymore. But now you brought back beef shank.
I really try not to.
I have so many questions.
Okay.
For like our 100th episode, you should make it like the only things you say the whole time are like all your catchphrases. By then you'll have
things that I've said before. It's just George Lucas' voice and beef shank the whole time. Yeah, but no, Spider-Man: Homecoming adds Michael Giacchino, which if he's down for doing a good score and an original soundtrack, I'm fine. But if he's going to just remake stuff that he's already done before and really helping try to cement the point that Marvel doesn't do a lot of original music, which I hate already, he's giving the Marvel Cinematic Universe score-wise a bad name, and I'm not a fan of that. I was very disappointed in his score. And Rogue One, whatever. Why would they... makes me angry.
I'm sorry I brought it up.
Nothing. It's just Michael Giacchino
I feel bad
He's
now.
like Rogue... Don't feel bad. Okay.
I feel like Trey's just like a bear. We're just there just poking him with a stick. And he's like... One
day I'm just going to run out of my cave and like... And like the Star Wars Holiday Special is gonna be like the prong, like the cattle prong. This like sets me loose. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we get Michael Giacchino to just prod him with his like conductor's stick,
baton. Yeah,
that really set him off. Oh, baton. Oh, la dee da.
I mean, it's what it's called, Trilbee. It's whatever. Anyways.
I feel like Mo in The Simpsons. Oh, garage. Oh, a garage. What do you call it? A car hole.
The car hole.
Okay, we have one more news story here, real quick. Speaking of people losing and people leaving, the Flash movie has just lost, or recently this past week lost its director for, I do believe, a third time.
Whoa.
I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Rick Fumihara, however you say the guy's name, black guy. He did this movie called Dope. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the movie Dope. It's pretty good. And he was directing The Flash. Really excited for that. I think originally they had... bloody Lord and Miller, who I think wrote a treatment for it, and then they left to do Han Solo, and then they had Seth Grahame-Smith write it and was assigned to direct, who did like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter and Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, those trash films, and then he dipped, he pieced, and then they had Rick come in, the Dope guy, and he's now left the project. So yeah,
here's a question: do we even need a Flash movie?
Yes.
But, I mean, I know there's a lot of Flash fans, but they've got a TV show that they all really like.
And it's not very good. It's really not.
Wouldn't it be better to focus on getting a good Green Lantern movie or something?
Maybe we should focus on making a good Flash television show that doesn't have the consistent characters and is not only is like 20 episodes too long. I'm sorry. I'm getting rid of all my beefs today, apparently.
Sam from Sam's channel is my only gateway into like Arrow and Flash, and he does not have favourable things to say about it on Twitter. He started off as a fan and just not anymore.
I can't. I want to see good CGI Flash. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see television CG Flash running at television poorly leather crap costume CG. Do you know what I mean? I think I've really been trying to get into the Flash, guys. I'm not talking about YouTube specific. I'm talking about the audience and my friends and family who have listened to the show and really want me to watch the Flash. I just
Trace friends and family.
Yeah, I really just can't.
Well, I remember like when we talked about it, Trey, in an episode, and it's like I watched like 3 seasons of it straight or something like that, and then we started the show, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I haven't seen it," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
No,
so that was just me talking.
I watched like 4 episodes. No, you watched the first season, and I watched like 4 episodes. All right.
Yeah. See, I'm just trying to wipe the bear again.
Can we talk about something agreeable, like how awesome the Lego Batman trailer was?
Oh, hang on.
We're gonna get to that.
Before we move on from Flash, I was thinking, like, I guess they have to do a Flash movie because they've now kind of woven him into the fabric of the universe because of that scene where it's like, Bruce, I'm jumping through the computer screen. It's about Lois Lane.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomatoes. So apparently he's very important to the Justice League. So I guess we have to do a movie now, don't we?
I just think that the general movie-going audience, because I think they deserve, I think Flash deserves to be back into the cinematic world again. I'm not talking about, hour-long segments on TV. Flash, the CW shows aren't like Game of Thrones where, they might as well just be hour-long movies. You know what I'm saying? I think, speaking to me personally, I would love to see a Flash film because I really want to see the Flash on the big screen. But that's just my personal taste. It's not my business. All right. That being said, Lego Batman trailer.
Yay.
What do you guys think? I love this trailer, by the way, but go ahead.
Do you want to go Bandit?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
Fair enough. I didn't feel like I needed to see another trailer for Lego Batman, but they keep showing them, so I'll keep watching them.
The Joker's pretty good, you got to admit.
Oh, yeah.
He's better than
The
Jared
Joker's
Leto.
great. Absolutely. I'll say this about I'm loving the recurring joke of him ripping off his of Robin ripping off his clothes. Yes, that is. I was like in tears because like he's like I can wear my costume. I was like, oh yeah, thank God we have to rip. I was like, I had to like rewind it because I was laughing so hard. This movie looks really funny. I think like it was the last trailer where he was like, no, Bruce Wayne lives in Batman's attic. I think it's just the lines are so clever. They're clearly treating this with as much care and respect as Phil Lord and Chris Miller did for the Lego movie. They're carrying that over. I'm really excited for this movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Remember, kids, always be yourself unless you can be Batman. Which is the tagline for the poster.
Also, kudos to Lego Batman for having a butt joke be funny, because apparently only the Lego movies can do those now. It's like, why do you only have one seat? Last I checked, I only have one butt. And I was like, what? Is that a butt joke? That's funny?
It just so perfectly sums up Batman, and it will be so weird if this is like the definitive Batman movie, despite The Dark Knight, Batman v Superman, all these other films, because like it's a silly concept. Let's poke fun at this guy. Let's just finally do it.
Oh, man. I'm really excited for Ray Fiennes as Alfred, also.
Yes.
Also, fun fact, apparently Barbara Gordon, a black girl. Right on. So, yeah. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, the Lego.
She's just a plastic Lego creature, Trey.
I know, I'm just saying, her paint, if you will, is darker. I appreciated that. Because the voice actress isn't a white girl.
Rosario Dawson.
Yeah. I think that's all the movie news I have here. Yeah, that's all the movie news I have here. So, homework?
I'm glad I bluffed my way through that, because I haven't actually seen the Lego trailer.
There we go. I knew it. That's why I'm jumping ahead, because Bandit is never this silent. I just knew it. All right, let's get
Bandit. Wah, wah.
I knew it. I thought I saw something. I should ask Bandit if he's seen the trailer or not, but anyways.
Don't worry, I'll edit that part out. So
no, leave it in.
If I can remember.
Yes, of course you will.
You should call this episode "Trays Full of Vinegar" because for some reason I've just been like super cynical and angry this episode. I don't know why. Call it teen angst.
You're like that Simpsons meme of like old man shouts at sky. That's you.
I
Damn you, Marvel! Why do you keep opening up portals in the sky? You know?
I did just find out I might have to pay $300,000 for college, but whatever. So maybe that's why I'm in such a pissy mood. And I have a headache.
This week, each one of you has a homework assignment.
Your homework is to listen to some real music, get inspired.
Is this your homework, Larry?
Down with homework?
All right, guys, this is the homework portion of the show in which we talk about the movies we either were assigned to see or just saw on our own. Anybody?
Yes.
All right.
Cornetto Trilogy, because I didn't get to talk about it last week. I was seriously upset with myself that I slept through that, because I was so looking forward to talking about that. I put up a poll
I definitely
on
just
our
spilled
Twitter
my
account.
water all over my computer cords. Oh, dear. No, you guys keep talking. I'll just mute my mic. All right, give me
I put
second.
a poll
You guys
up
go
on
ahead.
our Twitter account asking everyone what their favourite one is of the three, and I was going to read it out on the show, and it was Hot Fuzz, by the way. It was Hot Fuzz, then Shaun of the Dead, then The World's End, which is pretty much my order of the favourites, if I were to rank the
World's
three.
End is the best movie out of those three. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I was ready that when you were going to mention the timestamps, I was going to go, what's the matter? Never taken a shortcut before? That would have been so funny, but I ruined it because I was sleeping. Now the moment.
That was pretty great because, like, as the podcast went on, we were just like, should we, like, every time we went to a new episode, like, should we try calling him again? And then, but it never occurred to me. I'm like, maybe he just fell asleep again. Because he'll do that sometimes. I remember the first time he fell asleep while we were supposed to be recording. That was a fun time.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So anyway, Cornetto Trilogy. Yeah, I think my favourite one is Hot Fuzz. I absolutely love Hot Fuzz. I like the others as well. I hadn't seen World's End until I sort of watched it leading up to that. And, like, that was good as well, but probably not as good as the others, I don't think. But what I like about
Why
Hot
do you
Fuzz,
think that?
I don't know, maybe it's just sort of the Fawlty Towers phenomenon where, like, the ones before it were so good you expect that. Maybe it was just that, you know?
See, I think they get better as they go along. But we talked about that last week. You keep going. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did like the World's End. I did like the whole thing where the name of each pub kind of represents what's going to happen in it.
Yes.
You know, like the Old Familiar is where they bump into that old, the old friend of all of them, and etc. etc. Two-headed Dog is where the twins show up and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I really liked Hot Fuzz. That's always my favourite. Not just because it's got the Hound in it, but also because
yeah,
I really like the character of Chris Angel. I find him really interesting.
Nicholas Angel. Chris
Angel is a very different.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, he's the magician, isn't he? Yeah, Nicholas Angel.
Yes, he is.
I like that character, and apparently that's one of the few movies where they actually show the paperwork that cops have to do when they arrest someone.
Yeah.
So Hot Fuzz is a little bit famous amongst police officers because they're like, yeah, the paperwork, yeah.
I want you to know by claiming Hot Fuzz as your favorite, you've now like taken a dump on both me and Trilbee's favorites of the trilogy, because Trilbee loves Shaun of the Dead and I love The World's End. And
I think Hot Fuzz is the funniest.
Yeah,
that's probably true.
It's probably the most quotable. There's a lot of stuff in that. And it's got the whole bit of like, where he's like, you ever gone, and fired your gun in the air? And there's a bit where his dad's running away at the end. And he does that.
And he's shooting out the window, like, going bang, bang, even though he's actually firing the gun.
Arrest me. I'm a slasher of prices. Yeah, the more I think about the movie, the more I'm loving Timothy Dalton's performance as a Skinner. And I feel like,
Yeah, mind
I'm
you,
a slasher and I must be stopped.
Mind you, even though Hot Fuzz is my favourite of the three, which is kind of like someone saying, pick your favourite child. You know, you're like, well, it's kind of hard to pick your favourite. But if I did have to, I'd pick Hot Fuzz. But it does kind of fall apart a little bit at the end. Like the bit where Nicholas Angel, he goes, like the whole greater good moment when he goes and he finds them all.
The greater good.
Yeah, they're all there having their spirit cooking or whatever. And he goes up and he's like, God, I've forgotten the name of his partner. What's his partner's name? Ed.
Oh,
Danny.
No, Ed is
Danny Butterman.
Yeah, Danny. But he shows up and like pretends to stab him with the sauce packet, And then later on,
Ta-da.
Nicholas Angel is like trying to convince him that there was horrible stuff going on back there. And he's like, I don't believe it. And it's like, but then why did you pretend to kill him? Surely you must have known, so that you faked that to get him out of there. But now you're saying you didn't know. And
Yeah.
I don't like the bit where like the guy comes out and he's like, bloody busybody, and he shoots him, and then he's just okay again for like no explanation. And I was like, why'd you have that in there? So like there's a few things at the end where I was like,
are you talking about the part where he gets shot and falls over, but he's got the vest on? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. Oh, does he have a vest?
Yeah.
I don't remember him having a vest.
Are you talking about when Angel gets shot? Yeah, that's he's got a vest on.
Am I remembering it wrong?
Maybe.
Because I remember the guy
When was the
comes
last time
out
he
and
was?
says, bloody
Yeah.
busybody, and he goes to shoot Nicholas Angel, and like, what's his name, jumps in front of him and gets shot. Then Nicholas is like, oh no, you're dead. And then next thing you know, that he's just okay again. That's how I remember it. Is that not what happens?
That is not how I remember it. You know, Trilbee probably is a better one to answer this question. Trilbee.
I guess want an excuse to watch Hot Fuzz again.
I'm down for
Let's go
watching
watch it
Hot
now.
Fuzz again. Was it just an appalling actor? Appalling.
And she
So
has
you murdered
an
him.
annoying laugh. Annoying.
So you murdered him? Well, he murdered Bill Shakespeare. What?
I love that as well, how like Angel has worked out this grand conspiracy about land and all this, and they're like, no, we just felt like murdering them.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Perfect
what?
town.
I think
Catch them killers
one of the
yet? Oh, it's just the one killer, actually.
one of the funniest, weirdest lines is when Jim Broadbent is explaining why he vowed to make Sanford the greatest village ever. Make Sanford great again, I think is his actual line.
Really?
And he says,
Wow.
and he says, oh, my wife lost her mind, so she drove her car into Sanford Gorge. And it's like, Sanford has a gorge? What? What is this town?
It's this mythical town that seems to be nowhere yet everywhere all around England.
It's probably like Springfield, where it's got a gorge, it's got mountains, it's got a beach, it's got a forest. It's like, what town has all of these climates in them?
And I've noticed with the Cornetto trilogy, there's always that joke of jumping over fences and having them collapse.
Yes. Yes, the fence joke from Hot Fuzz is probably the best one. We talked about this last week of how Danny he jumps into it because he clearly tries to jump out, he just falls through. Oh man, yes.
But I think with the World's End though, like what do you guys think about the ending where it does this weird thing and it jumps forward into the post-apocalyptic world and he's like,
I love
I'm
that.
the king
I love
of the
all of
wasteland
that.
now, and I was like, I appreciated the Mad Max nod, but I was like, even for the Cornetto trilogy, this is kind of weird. Did you guys think that?
No, I love that. I want to see a post-apocalyptic film starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost from Edgar Wright.
Really foreshadowed. Everything's foreshadowed in Cornetto.
It was definitely foreshadowed at the
The
end.
World's End.
And at the start he talks about how
but
they sat on the hill.
implies it wasn't the end, so it kind of ruins it.
No, okay, but no.
Depends on the definition of end. Even if it like Mad Max is a post-apocalyptic wasteland, but it's not the end. People are still around driving, having a fun time.
He talks about being on that hill in the opening scene. He talks about being on the hill watching, what was it, the city glow red or something like that. He talked about something about the city glowing.
Yeah, like there was a shooting star or something as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, and then foreshadowed, which is the fact that at the end of the film they sit on that same hill watching the world on fire. And even the sign, "The World's End," is the picture of the Earth on fire. So, they did set up that the world was probably going to end by the time it was over.
And I think the ending of the film just plays so well into Gary's character. At least his change in his development and how he accepts the water and he looks after these smashy Eggman things, these Nobots or whatever you want to call them. Yeah. I talked about it last week, so listen to that for my
robots who aren't robots. Do you know what robot means? Yes, it means slave. Very good, Gary.
Hello, I am a robot.
I am a robot. Yeah.
Well, I guess Gary does
love
always talk about himself. He says, the once and future king.
Yeah.
So I guess he is the future king by the end of it, yeah.
Yeah, there's more than one Gary King, but you said I fucking know what I fucking said.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what, because me being the older guy of all of us, like, everybody in their group of friends growing up has that one friend that as you get older is always like, let's go back to when we were kids. And everyone else is like, no, I don't think we need to. And he's like, come on. So, yeah, I definitely do appreciate it from that angle.
Are you saying that because you're that friend, Bandit? Are you the one that's just
I'm
like,
not
let's all go watch Mad Max, everybody, and read about Superman, read
watch
Superman
Mad
comics.
Max and do the Golden Mile.
You guys should subscribe to my YouTube channel where I can talk about nerd stuff like we were back when we were 15. Except now I do it and I make money off of it. It's my job. Hashtag beans on toast.
Yeah, that friend who rocks up with like Toxic Avengers t-shirt and he's like, remember this? And you're like, dude, nobody remembers Toxic Avengers.
Bryan Singer, is that you?
Yeah, so that's pretty much all I had to say about it.
So you crapped on the World's End, and then we crapped on Bryan Singer. All right, I'm glad.
And Short of the Dead is just great all around.
It is. It really is. It's a good film.
You got red on you.
You got red on you. And wait a minute, World's End is one of the... It's pretty much the only movie in the Cornetto trilogy where Ed doesn't kind of end up dead. You know, because in Shaun of the Dead, he ends up dead, but then he's kind of dead because he's a zombie. And in Hot Fuzz, he gets shot and he seems he's dead, but then he's not dead, so he's kind of dead.
We're still checking the validity
of
that one. We're not sure about that one yet.
Yeah, I remember in Hot Fuzz, what happens is that that guy who's at the computer monitors in the police station comes out with a shotgun. Danny takes a bullet for Nick. The sea mine blows up the police station, and in the rubble, Nicholas Angel is like over Danny's body, hoping that he doesn't die as he bleeds out, because he's got a bulletproof vest, but it was like a close-range shotgun, so he's clearly been injured. And then Nicholas Angel's in front of a grave, and it says Butterman on it, and he's got flowers. And then Danny comes along, he's fine, and he's like, oh, these flowers, my mum would have loved them, and it's his mum's grave with the last name Butterman. That's the fake-out.
Yeah. Okay. I thought. Oh yeah. Well, and that's my thing, right? Like everyone kind of unrealistically survives. That sea mine blows up. Like it's like it takes out the whole police building, and they're all kind of just okay. So I think I'm okay that it's.
Trey, did you say sea mine? I think you meant sea mine.
I guess I can overlook that ending. I guess I can overlook that ending because it's all for the greater good.
The greater good.
Yes, you got it this week. Good.
I like in the world.
Last week you didn't do it.
Don't you even dare! Don't try that with
Trilbee
me.
made that joke. It was just silence on the other side.
It's because Trey wasn't paying attention.
I was trying to. My phone started ringing, and then my alarm went off, and my grandpa was there. It was just nah.
But I do love in the World's End how Nick Frost is just a great straight man. How he's not the comic relief, and it's Simon Pegg and it's swapped over, and how they keep on changing roles over the course of the trilogy. I think it's just great stuff, and I want to marathon it again. Let's talk about it again next week, guys.
What about if they got like Sean Penn's character from the World's End and crossed him over
Simon Pegg? It's Simon
Penn's character from the World's End and crossed him over with Ed from Shaun of the Dead, and they did a movie together. Do you reckon that'll work, or you have to have a straight man?
Does he have to be a zombie? Is Ed a zombie?
It'd probably be better.
Okay, be a zombie.
Well, actually, that probably would have just been the World's End before the guy had the accident, wasn't it? That probably would.
I think it would be.
Yeah.
Sean isn't the straight man in Shaun of the Dead. They're both very much buffoons. It's pretty much everyone else around them that works as the straight men, essentially.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but he's a little bit more sort of responsible.
To an extent, yes. To an extent, yeah.
He can at least keep a girlfriend, I guess. So. Sort your bloody life out, mate. What's the matter with your hand?
Oh, prick!
He's not in.
Right. Well, gentlemen, I would like to say, I suppose this is a strange time to be alive. That being said, let's get to our feature presentation, shall we?
Awful pun.
And now, our feature presentation.
look, I'm Marvel. I can remake the first Iron Man and sprinkle in some Ant-Man and copy the score from Star Trek and make somehow a decent film and still make it $95 million its opening weekend. Sorry, guys, this is Doctor Strange.
I gotta say, this is really cool movie. Sorry, I'm just trying to do a terrible American accent since it's Doctor Strange. I sound like Mr. T all of a sudden. I'm American, yeah.
My Dr. House-esque accent and how I speak and do things. That got really distracting after a while, I'll tell you what. Okay,
so are we doing
Doctor Strange time,
non-spoilers and then
spoilers?
spoilers?
We'll go, yes, as usual, we'll go non-spoilers and then spoilers. Trilbee, why don't you go first and go? Actually, since you gave us your general thoughts last week, Bandit, why don't you give us your general thoughts?
General thoughts is I love this. I absolutely love this. Yes, there's a few things from like Marvel's run of the mill, but I kind of feel about this movie like how Trey you feel about Force Awakens, where like you acknowledge the problems, but they just don't bother you. That's how I feel about Doctor Strange with this. Really,
I don't know if I acknowledge its problems. There's not a lot of problems there with Force Awakens, but whatever. All right.
Yeah, well, let's not.
Let's not get into this right now.
Let's not get into it. Yeah.
Why is there
I
another
think it's really
Death
great.
Star?
And some people say it looks like maybe they're setting up Doctor Strange to sort of pick up the slack if Robert Downey Jr. sort of wants to move off and doesn't want to do Iron Man as much. And after watching this, I'm like, yeah, I could see that. And I don't know what else to say. Yeah, it's just a really good movie. What do you think?
I think I'll tell you what. I did enjoy the film. I did like the film. I think in terms of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's sitting somewhere in the middle. It's not as good as something like a Civil War or Guardians or the first Avengers. But at the same time, it's no Iron Man 4 or Thor: The Dark World. It's sitting somewhere nice in the middle. I do think that Cumberbatch is great, and I think that, without giving anything away, what we do see in the end credit scenes is that they are slowly working their way towards, I do believe, the Doctor Strange we know in the comics, who is a bit douchier than he's appeared to be in the film, in the sense that he does certain things in the comic books that you're like, that was a douchey thing to do. And I think they're slowly building their way to that, and I'm kind of excited to see that.
That's what I'd like to see in the future. I'd like to see the Doctor Strange that's a bit more douchey. Because
there's
a couple moments in this...
Since we're not getting Reed Richards yet, I think that we can kind of swap those things out.
Yeah.
But going back to what I did enjoy about the film, I also really enjoyed Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One. I did appreciate the nod to, since this film's kind of all about subverting expectations to an extent, I was a fan of this fake out they did when we first do meet the Ancient One, without giving anything away.
That was a bit of a nod to the whole whitewashing thing as well, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes. And while all that really did for me was kind of pull me out the film and be like, oh yeah, I am watching a white person play an Asian role. All right, right on. But I got past that pretty quickly because she does do a very good job. There's a very touching scene with her in Doctor Strange involving lightning and clouds. I did also really enjoy, I think Mads Mikkelsen, say what you will about the character of the villain himself, I thought Mads Mikkelsen did deadpan comedy so well. It's a shame that it was in the trailers, but that line of Mr. Doctor. It's like, it's strange. Maybe, but I don't care. I love that line, that exchange.
Who am I to judge?
That was so great. It's like you cannot stop this, Mr. Doctor. He's really good, and I really, without giving anything, I wanted to see more of him in the film. I wasn't a fan of how that character was handled. But I did like him as a character. I was not a fan of Mordo, of Chiwetel Ejiofor as Mordo.
Really?
I thought
he was great.
I thought for me, all the performances in this film are fantastic. But I think, as the character itself, I think the way they handled the character, A, was very telegraphed, and B, I just think that he succumbs to a thing that we won't give away because of spoilers that all Marvel movies kind of do, but we'll get to that in spoilers.
Well, I'm really surprised to hear you say that. I mean, I know he's not as well defined as Ray, but I mean, I thought he was.
Son of a bitch! Why would you do that? Oh my god! I'm trying.
Trey, some men just like to watch the world burn.
Yeah. Witness. No,
really,
it's like
I'm surprised. No, I'm genuinely surprised because I thought the way they handled his character, where they set up again, we're non-spoiler section, where they set up for his character later on, or possibly in the future. No spoilers.
But I will say this.
I think they did a good job of setting it up. Well, you understand where it's coming from.
Yes, I will say this. I feel like much like a film like Ant-Man, where I said when it was the moment was over, I said I cannot wait to see the sequel. Now that we've got the origin out of the way, now that it's just Doctor Strange being Doctor Strange, that scene of him that we see at the end of the first trailer, him walking up those stairs. I was so ready to see the rest of that film. I'm really hyped for seeing him in future Marvel movies and seeing him in the sequel, because now it felt like a really good pilot to a really awesome TV show, if that makes any sense. I'm really excited to see where this goes.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying with that. I feel like this may be the last time that Marvel can do like a straight up origin story.
I feel like Captain Marvel's going to do that, though.
But we skipped Black Panther's origin story kind of in Civil War because we
they
got
said
like
a while
that in
back
10
they
minutes.
won't do any more origins, so it was kind of surprising that they did do an origin for him. But I was okay with it,
But I think Doctor Strange is kind of the last round of films that they've been developing. Like Kevin Feige, this has been kind of like his baby for a long time. Like this and Ant-Man, like he's been shepherding since like before the MCU became a thing. So to say, I think this is why this was kind of you're right, Joe. This may be the last round of 2 origins, but I do think I read somewhere that Captain Marvel is going to be an origin story. So I'm interested to see how that works out. But overall, I wish we would have gotten something with perhaps a bit more flair to it, but maybe that's just because Civil War was so gosh darn good, and I really liked pretty much everything about Civil War. And the love interest I thought was also just a lamp. You literally could replace her with like a dog, and nothing would have really changed. I'm serious.
I got a lot to say about her in the spoilers. I'll say
like all you have to do is you take out that character and you just put like the dog from John Wick right there, and I guarantee you get the exact same, if not more, emotion for when things happen in this film.
And it's such a shame because her character in the comics is totally just.
And it's a shame because Rachel McAdams is a very talented actress. I think
I was like, I'll save it for the spoilers.
Yeah. How about you, Trilbee? You go ahead.
Having seen it like a week ago, it's not one that stuck with me, but to be fair, I've been like phenomenally busy this week, so I've not had much time for it to like really to sit with it. But I do want to see it again because I did have a lot of fun with it, and
I think it gets worse on a second point, but that's just my opinion. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, I can maybe see that because when you know what, like say Iron Man is a film where on its second viewing it loses a lot of the novelty because you understand you're on the same rhythm as it. Whereas a lot of fun with watching Iron Man the first time is because it feels so unlike anything. Like the first time you see Iron Man, it was so different in 2008 to any other superhero film in terms of how they approached the dialogue, how they approached the tone and the origin and things like that. So it feels like Doctor Strange is kind of a relic from a different era, but with modern day technology and all the inventive aspects that I've come to expect from the MCU. Like I loved the action sequences, and I wasn't expecting anything to top Civil War's airport scene, and I don't think anything in Doctor Strange does. But the chase through the mirror realm towards the end, like near the climax of the film, it's just a chase, really. But the inventive stuff they do with the buildings and the geography and the skill set of the characters, it's something to behold. And I didn't see it in 3D, but I want to.
I reckon if anyone has not seen the film yet, please do yourself a favor, because as someone who saw it in IMAX first, my screening was in IMAX 3D, and then I had to go see it. I went and saw it in regular. Granted, I was in recliner seats, but still, I went and saw it in regular 2D, just regular movie going experience in 2D. The second time, please do yourself a favor and go see this film in IMAX, because unlike most films these days released in IMAX, they formatted and they shot specific things to be put in IMAX, and so the screen does expand, much like it did in like a film like Star Wars, and that chase you're talking about, which I believe it's either New York or London, what you're referring to, what you see in all the trailers with the building they're flipping and whatnot, that is,
I think it's London and New York.
Yeah, it's so inventive and cool and just it's so awesome. And like, without giving it away, so much people are running and making portals, and like people are like flipping buildings to catch people before they get into portals, and people like making like weird energy fans, and that's when I was really loving the film. Every time it was Doctor Strange just doing Doctor Strange things, I was really enjoying it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
ratings?
Anything else
give
you
it ratings?
say? Oh yeah, let's give it a rating before we.
I'd give it 4 out of 5 stars.
Okay, right on. Well, then we're on the same
page. We give out of 10 ratings, don't we? I give it like 8 out of 10.
Okay, right on. How about you, Joey?
Same for me. Same for me.
Yeah,
8 out of
same,
10, 4 out of 5.
Same right here for me. It's
Really?
so weird. Yeah, I still give it an 8 because I still enjoyed enough of it. But the reason it's not up there with other 9s and 10s in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is because of the problems I have with it, which we will get into now with the spoilers.
Now that we're officially in the spoilers, I can say I really like that they introduced the character, they introduced the concept of the mirror dimension to contain magic so it doesn't interfere with the real world, so they can do all crazy stuff in there, but it doesn't interfere with the real world. That's a really good way of keeping the magic world and the real world separate. You see that, Harry Potter? You see how simple it was? You see how easy it was? You just introduce one thing, problem solved. No need for all these super complicated explanations that don't make any sense whatsoever. Just introduce one thing like the mirror dimension. Done. Problem solved. That's how you tell a story, because this was written by John Spates, and he wrote Prometheus before it was ruled by Ridley Scott. That guy's a good writer.
And Damon Lindelof. Bandit, remember what I said. No more crapping on Harry Potter, or else I'm not doing the Star Wars Holiday Special. All right.
Well, that's a podcast that's going to be held to
that Deathly Hallows movie.
Anyways, my point being,
Mirror Dimension was
they
good.
did do magic stuff like flipping buildings and whatnot. They didn't flip buildings, but they did do stuff like that outside of the mirror dimension. That was actually kind of a big deal. I believe when before they're in the mirror dimension, he's flipping hallways and stuff like that. Like, so they do things outside of the mirror dimension, like flipping buildings and whatnot.
Yeah,
That's not just.
They did break their own rules a little bit with that. Like, all of a sudden he can like warp stuff outside the mirror dimension, and then also they're like, you put him inside the mirror dimension, it contains threats, and then he does it, and he's like, oh no, he's more powerful in here. And I was like, you guys just making this up? Because you set up that's what the mirror dimension's for, and then you go in, you're like, oh, this is terrible, he's even more powerful now. I was like, oh, come on. I kind of just didn't really care enough to think about it because I was so enthralled by the incredible visuals, and now that I can give into immense detail, that scene where Strange is trying to make a portal and they're running up the building, and Mads Mikkelsen just jumps and like makes a shockwave that starts like flipping the buildings upside down. I legit, like, my jaw dropped because that scene, that was partially the scene I got to see early, about 2-3 weeks ago, and my jaw was just like, oh, I didn't realize that was an option. They really, like, people were worried that there was going to be kind of an Inception-esque ripoff, but the way the visuals are handled in this film, it's nothing that I've seen before in a film like this. Like, let alone a superhero film. I was really happy that they brought all those Steve Ditko drawings, those crazy like 60s, 70s psychedelic stuff to the big screen. Kind of things, Yes, like legitimately, like looking like putting a kaleidoscope inside a kaleidoscope and then twisting it around.
Hands on top of hands on top of hands on top of hands.
Hands on hands. That was pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of his hands, I did think, like, because I watched it a second time.
Nice.
When he has the car accident, I thought they should have, like, when he crashes the car and they show it in slow motion, the crash, they should have shown clearly that his hands get crushed. Like, maybe
they did. I thought they did. Because
they showed his hands getting shoved into
but...
the dashboard or whatever, something like his hands get crushed. They show his hands getting like slided between the two parts of the car, and then the crash continues to happen. So
yeah, but I mean, it wasn't really clear. That's like, I thought if you're going to do that, I like that idea, but it should go in there. Like his hands should whack into the dashboard, and then the car should contort and just go and just close in and crunch his hands. Because that's what
You wanted to see his hands.
But you need to illustrate that every bone in his hands is broken. Like, if you didn't know to look for that, you wouldn't find it. You didn't
have to look for it. They put it in the center of the frame. Whatever.
Well, I missed it. I missed it both times.
Well, you saw it twice. What do you mean you missed it? You saw it
Well, the second time I saw it in a dodgy pirated version because I wanted to refresh my memory on it.
Oh,
I already bought the ticket for the first one, so it's okay.
Chappie watched Strange? Chappie watched Doctor Strange?
We got started again.
I paid for it the first time I saw it, so it's okay. But
okay.
That makes it okay. No, but I will say this. I forgot to mention this in the non-spoilers, but Benedict Cumberbatch, I'm so happy we have someone like him in the MCU now, because while his accent may be a little, little Hugh Laurie house, well, it might be a little jarring to an extent. It's something that I got really used to quickly, and B, it's really great to have a genuinely fantastic actor in the MCU again. Like, we've gotten a couple of them, but like they're not around anymore. Like James Spader was fantastic as Ultron. He really brought a lot of gravitas to that character, but he's not around as Ultron anymore. Spoilers. You know what I'm saying? Like Chris Pratt's really great as Star-Lord, but to say that he is a genuine, talented actor is not true right now.
It's
at
a bit
least
of a stretch,
I think Robert Downey. Yeah, but Benedict Cumberbatch, I think, brings a certain sense, again, gravitas and true. That's not pretentious. Thespian quality to
the
Marvel.
That's partly why I think he can be the new Iron Man and sort of be the sort of center of the team if he needs to be. But I am a little worried about with his character in that regard. You mentioned in the non-spoiler you want him to become a bit more douchey. I want that. Yeah. But like there are a couple scenes where he's talking to Wong and he's doing the sort of Marvel humor stuff, which is funny, but I was kind of like, you know what that was? I him being a bit more serious. That was rewrites. I guarantee you those were the rewrites. Because they said they did rewrites and added stuff, and they got Dan Harmon to do some comedic rewrites. I guarantee you. It seems out of place, doesn't it? Yeah. Yes, because every time he was talking, and then he'd make like jokes, and he'd go like, I'm like that. None of that. You know what? None of those ever got a laugh. The only part that got a laugh was "Try Me, Beyonce." That part got a laugh in our theater. My audience laughed when it cuts to later and he is listening to Beyonce.
Yes, that got. But then the joke goes on for too long because then it's just him like listening to Beyonce for 30 seconds. I'm like, well, the joke ended about 5 seconds or 25 seconds ago.
Well, the gag is also that while he's listening to Beyonce, he's using his powers to go through the library and sneak books out.
Yeah, and then that's funny the first time he does it, and then but you know what I'm saying? It just,
so did Doctor Strange say that to him, hoping that he would be listening to music later on and he could steal the book? Because if so, I think that's really planning ahead.
I think maybe he walked in and noticed that he was listening to Beyonce and then just walked away and decided to use portals to get the... Going back to Cumberbatch, I do think he is a very talented... That scene where he tells Christine essentially to piss off was really... I thought really quite powerful. You know, the scene where he gets thrown out. I have a question. Did Marvel use stop motion on Doctor Strange's hands, or was that just Cumberbatch's acting? Because those were really like shaky and kind of like jumpy hands. I feel like they did like some stop motion on that stuff, maybe some CG on it, because they were really like jaggedy in their animation. I'm not sure if that's just him as a talented actor, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it is Cumberbatch, so I wouldn't put it past him, practicing that probably for hours or something for the role.
The Batch of Cumbers. It's just him sitting like Sherlock Holmes style, just bored, just shaking his hands. Yeah. Like, do you want to come for dinner? Do you want to come to dinner? No, not now, honey. I'm trying to get my perfect shakedown.
Shakedown. I can just imagine he's just in his hotel room or whatever. He's in his trailer on set and he's shaking his hands. And then some poor runner or some poor grip best boy or whatever walks in and is like, "Oh, Cumberbatch, we're ready for you on set." And he's like, "Not now, boy. I'm shaking."
By the heels of Ashanti, I will shake more.
And he just throws the Eye of Agamotto at him. Yeah. Pick that up.
We'll need it for the sequel.
So they do confirm in this that the Orb of Agamotto or the Eye of Agamotto is an Infinity Gem or an Infinity.
I mean, I feel like we knew that the moment we saw reverse time in the trailer. We're like, oh, so it's the Time Stone. Okay.
Yeah.
I love how they didn't make it a big deal either. Thank God they tried. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, the stone was pretty much the whole point of the movie. But this one, they didn't try to make it the kind of the huge MacGuffin. But more or less,
Sorry, go on.
No, I was done. I was rambling.
But I like how, because as we all know, like whenever they introduce time travel into movies, it always opens up lots of problems where it's like Superman flying around the world to reverse time, and you're like, why don't you just do that every time? But they cover that in this. They're like, every time you do that, it comes with consequences, and that's why he does want to use the time stone to restore his hands to what they were like before the accident. He has that bit at the end where he's going to use it and the cloak kind of tells him not to. And he's like, all right.
I do really like that cloak.
I like the implication that is like he saved the world, but we're probably going to find out in the next in like the next movie or something, like Mordo says to him, it's going to have a consequence. So like he's
Mm-hmm.
probably going to find out that like, oh yeah, we saved Earth, but that pushed Dormammu into another planet and it wiped out some other civilization. That's on you, Doctor Strange.
Or maybe like Thanos now knows the location of the Infinity Stone because it's been used to reverse the time in such a large way or something like that.
Yeah.
Probably gonna do something that leads into Infinity War. Apparently there's this theory going around about the Infinity Stones, by the way, that each of the stones, like what they actually are in the terms of the movies, spells out Thanos' name. And I think it's worked out pretty much so far. Like, I don't have it in front of me right now, but you know, like I wasn't really into the theory because I was like, yeah, maybe, sure. Because I think the Mind Stone was the scepter, the Tesseract was the space gem, the Ether was the what I think was the Reality Stone, the Orb was the Power Stone, and like it was spelling out Thanos.
E in Thanos.
No, and Ether was with an A. So
Oh, with an
yeah.
A. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
But
and so I was like, that's not
Agamotto would be another A.
Yeah,
So there's not two
what do you
A's
mean?
in Thanos.
No, it's a necklace. It is a necklace, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like that's what I looked at that. I was like, "It is a necklace," and I was like, "Wait a minute!" I wasn't buying the theory until I saw Doctor Strange. I'm like, maybe they're on to something."
Well,
and right
that's
now, there's only like the H left apparently. So the Soul Stone might be something that has to do with an H. And so the theory is that it's Heimdall. That Heimdall contains the Soul Stone, and that's how he's able to see into the being, like see in everything and see at everyone's beings and whatnot.
I was really annoyed what they did with Dormammu. Really annoyed. I mean,
really,
if you want him to be a MacGuffin villain, fine. But why are you making him this big fart cloud gas thing that we've seen so many times before? He's supposed to be like this big demonic fire demon. Make him look like that.
To an extent, yes. He is supposed to be a big in certain realms. Yeah, I'm down with him in his own specific realm where it's literally just him controlling everything. I'm okay, and because I mean, at the same time he did. Well, hold on, he did have a face, and there are certain points where you can see he did kind of have a giant forming of a body, and I feel like if they bring him into the real world, he's not just going to be a giant cloud. You know, it's not going to be like Green Lantern or Fantastic Four. It's gonna. I think if they do, yeah, the giant poop cloud. I did like how it was kind of somewhere between a cloud and an actual being.
Well, do you know who did motion capture and voice work for Dormammu?
Well, we don't know who did the voice yet. We know that Cumberbatch was the motion capture, but they have not revealed who did the voice work yet.
I thought it was both.
No, they said that Cumberbatch did the mocap for it, which he's great at doing mocap. Look up him as Smaug; it's hilarious. But they have not announced who did the voice. I think that's because they're saving to cast him in the sequel and/or in a future Marvel movie. That's
Tilda Swinton.
Oh, that'd be sick.
But that annoyed me because I was like, look, if you want to make him a throwaway villain, it is Marvel, I guess, so they always throw their villains away. But it's like, Dormammu is a cool villain, and like him as a cool villain gets sacrificed for what? To just have him be a fart cloud again? How many fart clouds?
No, he's still
do
there.
we need?
They didn't defeat Dormammu. He's still there. He's still a very present threat.
And
it
was the same thing with Doctor Strange's girlfriend. Is like her story got sacrificed for what? To make her Pepper Potts 2.0. Woo.
Well, she's still alive, so they can always go places with that character.
I know, but I guess for our listeners, I should probably explain. In the comics, Doctor Strange's love interest is an alien energy being from another dimension that he meets in one of his magical trips, and he falls in love with her. So she sometimes manifests in like a physical body, but she's not really human. So it's kind of a interspecies love. Sounds weird, but it's like it's a cool.
I'm just thinking, a love story I can relate to.
And her character in this is supposed to be that. But the idea is that she's supposed to be like she knew about Doctor Strange all along, and she was kind of there to try to direct him towards the Ancient One. But with the way they did her in this now, you can't do that. So I was like, So it's like
I wouldn't go that far. You can
romance.
still.
You haven't seen the Doctor Strange romance. That could have been really cool, but you threw it away to replace it with this generic Pepper Potts. Why?
I don't. Bandit. You gotta listen to me now. You're going into that mode again where you can completely ignore everything around you and go into a screaming match. So listen when I say this. You can still do that storyline. You can't necessarily have her be someone that Doctor Strange meets on one of his adventures. You can't put that in the origin story because if he's barely wearing the cloak by like the hour 20 mark, you can't have him. You know what I'm saying? You can't have him go out and meet some kind of celestial chick and then be a love interest by the time the movie's over. You know what I'm saying? I think they're building for her to be something more. Clearly, they wanted because she can become a night nurse, but she didn't do that. So it just there's different ways you can go with this character. And I think they're going to do something with her. I'll eat my words if they do nothing with her in the sequel, and I'll be right, and you'll be right. But whatever. But I feel like you're giving preemptive anger to a character that clearly did not have anything.
They can always change her into that later, or they could maybe swap her out for a different character, and then make the different character that. But it'll be a little bit like the sort of Lex Luthor situation in DC. It's like, sure, you can reinvent Jesse Eisenberg as the proper Lex Luthor, or you can swap him out for a different actor playing a Lex Luthor, like Lex Luthor's dad or whatever, but it's not the same. It's like you could have just done it from the beginning.
No,
it's kind of,
I don't
it's
see
kind
the
of the same thing with the love interest here.
The difference here is that Lex Luthor is a character. But you can't go back and say
she was this energy being all along, because the way she acted in this, she had no idea what was happening with him. They could have written her in such a way where you could look back in hindsight and go, she did know all along, but you can't now. Not with the way they wrote her. So that's why I'm frustrated.
Not if you have such a closed mind about it. Now the difference here being is that with Lex Luthor is that is the set standard, and that is the set way they've made that character now. They've still left Christine's story very, very open. They have not definitively said what Christine is. We never once learn about her origins at all. So there's still a lot that you can do with that character. And I feel like Marvel specifically did not answer any questions like that. And I feel like they had enough hindsight to realize that they can go somewhere with it. In the same way that they haven't revealed who voiced Dormammu yet, because clearly they want to do something else with it. I don't know.
See, they can't though. They can't because they can't go back.
Not
and
with
say,
that attitude.
Look, they cannot go back and say she was an energy being all along. She was working with the Ancient One, which is a story in the comics, and she directed him to Doctor Strange. They cannot do that because she didn't direct him to Doctor Strange. It's the guy who restored his spine that directed him to Doctor Strange. And with the way they wrote her with the whole sort of hospital fight with the astral body between Doctor Strange and the other guy in the astral body form, with the whole way that went down, would have gone down very differently if she was an energy being and knew all about this stuff. So either they're just going to have to change her into an energy being later, in which case you kind of ruin the uniqueness of that, she was this way all along. So you can't do that surprise now.
I think doing the character that way in the first film would have been something that would make the film far more busy than it kind of already was to an extent, because we already skip over a lot of Doctor Strange's training. And they do give us a line of, he's a fast learner, which I'm completely down for. But in a film where you have to learn a lot about the MCU very quickly, where you have to swallow quite a large pill in this film of what you accept now as magic and reality and whatnot in this universe. And you have to also try very hard to accept the rules of magic in this universe.
I know,
to
that's
simply
fine.
Then say,
you don't have to turn her into an energy being in this movie, but write her in a way that it leaves the door open. They shut the door on this. There was a potential for a really great, good Shyamalan twist where you're like, oh my god, she was this thing all along. You can't do it now.
I disagree. I think you still can.
That makes me frustrated.
I think they'd have to go slightly away from the source material to do it, but there's nothing saying that she couldn't have maybe been like a magical sleeper agent. Like she had no idea that she was this thing. Like,
precisely. There are still ways to do this.
I get what you're saying, Bandit.
Yeah.
I just don't think that the door has been completely closed off.
Yeah,
and
I still don't think it works, though, because if she's a magical sleeper agent, the whole point of putting her there is that she directs Doctor Strange to the Ancient One. But the way they wrote it, she had absolutely nothing to do with that.
It could be a different thing. It doesn't have to be a slave to the comics. Like Civil War wasn't a slave to the comics. The Winter Soldier was not a slave to the comics.
But if she's not a sleeper agent for that specific purpose, then there's no thrill in that reveal. You know what I mean?
It could be a different one. You can change it.
Yeah. That's just what we're going in circles, but that's just what I'm saying. They had a potential to do something really great and unique, but it seems like they shafted it to give us generic Pepper Potts, and I think it's a huge waste. Anyway, we should move on.
Well, yes, I disagree. I feel like you're being far too close-minded about the whole ordeal. I think you need to. You know what I look at you and I see? You know what I see when I look at you, Bandit? I see a closed-minded man who cannot see the possibilities of his future. Anyways.
Boom. But yeah, I do think that the movie wastes Rachel McAdams.
If she wasn't written the right way, that's all I'm saying.
I think that they do waste Rachel McAdams and also Mads Mikkelsen to an extent. Like, yeah, he's great at the deadpan humor, but he is just like, I've already forgotten his name. Like, what's his name?
Caecilius.
Caecilius Merciless. Yeah, that guy. Like, I've already forgotten him and his cannon fodder subordinates or whatever. But yes, although the action's really inventive and he is a threat and the power set is also, and the final fight when they are literally fighting on a street that is rebuilding itself. It's been blown up and there have been car crashes and people dying, and they have to fight around it reversing, is so incredibly inventive and really well done, and I loved every single second of it. But in terms of a character, or just like they do give him one scene when he's tied to that weird S&M outfit or whatever, that weird bondage outfit. Like, yeah. I think that's a nice scene. I just feel like we needed maybe more of that, and maybe if Mads Mikkelsen wasn't just given like clearly cultish dialogue, like, no, we are the ones trying to save the world. Like, maybe if there was a bit more dimension to it, I think.
Well, see, Trilbee, if they gave him more personality, people would have called him non-threatening, like they do with Ultron. So they had to keep him generic, because last time I tried to give a villain personality, people called him, he wasn't threatening enough. He was too funny. Whatever. Yeah,
I just think that if you're gonna have a character like that, don't get Mads Mikkelsen. Like, maybe get a really talented guy, but not someone who is so perfectly well known for playing villains. Like, get him to play Dormammu. Get somebody like, I don't know, Jai Courtney as him. I don't know.
Yeah, like when they said Mads Mikkelsen was in it, I thought he would be Dormammu. Because I was like, yeah, of course you'd make him Dormammu. It's Mads Mikkelsen. He's like the ultimate villain dude.
Yeah, but then it just turns out he is just sort of like a puppet of Dormammu, who is a CGI'd face voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch, or motion captured by Cumberbatch, whichever one it was. But I did like what they did with Dormammu in that, like, he could always change form and do something else later. I think he was a good end game, and it wasn't just, we are fighting a giant portal in the sky. There was a very inventive way how they did defeat the villains.
Yeah.
And it played so well with Doctor Strange's arc over the course of the film, because he starts the movie, he doesn't accept many cases. He doesn't. I say cases. He's not Sherlock Holmes. He doesn't accept many patients because he doesn't want to fail. He doesn't want his perfect reputation to be ruined. He's afraid of failure, and what happens is that he needs to learn to not be afraid of failure, so that when he does lose his love interest, which is she's a bit of a plot device for his own arc, which is a bit disappointing, but then at the end when he goes to Dormammu knowing he's probably going to have to fail 1,000 times over until this plan works, he's not afraid to do it. He goes there, he dies time and time and time again because he's overcome his fear of failure. And I think it's a really great way to get across that metaphor, that character arc, in a very literal, plot specific way. I think that's
so right.
really clever.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, because he's got this fear of failure, but to win he has to fail over and over. Yeah, that's really good. I didn't think of that.
And that's why you earn the big bucks. Not really.
No, none of us earn any money from this.
You just got an email from Disney. Disney just emailed you your checks in the mail. Yeah, it's on its way.
Yes.
Damn, I shouldn't have said all that stuff about the girlfriend. No, now I'm not going to get paid.
Yeah, they're sending you an extended copy of Suicide Squad. So good luck with that.
Hooray!
I will say this though. You did say that you wish they didn't have Mads Mikkelsen. I think the fact that it was Mads Mikkelsen allowed me to connect with him more, in that sense of that, I love Mads Mikkelsen as an actor. So right away from the moment he showed up, I was like, yes, it's Mads Mikkelsen. And I think it was great being able to see him interact with Doctor Strange. I love that bit when he's in the quote-unquote S&M trap. And it's just like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, look, if you're not going to stop, I'm going to put this back on. I love that cloak exchange. I love the Cloak of Levitation. Everything with that cloak is just incredible. Much like the carpet from Aladdin, as we established last week.
I mentioned last week my favorite bit with the Cloak of Levitation is when he starts attacking that soldier, that foot soldier, and is just slamming him into the floor, and then he goes into the portal, and 5 minutes later, he's still doing it. He's still fighting that guy.
Well, he does it until he dies, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He goes into astral form and...
How cool is it when he gets pushed over the ledge and then the cape catches him and he rises out in like that comic book pose and like gets like the energy whip or whatever. That was so cool. That was so sick. That was pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, there were so many great like moments in the film where you can imagine it being a comic book cover or a splash page, and it's hard to tell if Doctor Strange is a Scott Derrickson film because it's so unlike anything he's ever done. He's mainly known for horror films like Sinister or Deliver Us from Evil and a couple of other projects. So I can't quite tell if this is a Scott Derrickson film in the way that Guardians of the Galaxy is obviously a James Gunn film, but I still think he fits himself to the MCU really well in terms of style.
Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to what he does next, whether it is a Doctor Strange sequel or just another grassroots horror film. Actually, no, he's got Two Eyes Staring coming up. That's a film, but
that's a creepy title.
Two Eyes Staring, yeah, a remake of a Dutch 2010 film. So it looks like another horror.
I will say this about Doctor Strange in its entirety. I do feel like, again, I'm really excited to see where it goes. And now we're in toys, we can talk about the post-credit scene. I'm in love with that first post-credit scene. I adore that post-credit scene so much. Directed by Taika Waititi,
Ragnarok
by the way.
is going to be so cool.
The moment it was already turned my friend, I said the moment when Doctor Strange is going to make a cameo in Thor Ragnarok, and we both just kind of started squealing like, oh my god, we were like so happy because it shows, like we said, it's setting up that kind of, because Doctor Strange has always been kind of a dick in the comics, and I think that especially now that Reed Richards, as of late, is not in this universe right now, I think it's nice to know that we they're setting up, because he says he doesn't want Thor and or his brother and or Loki on Earth. He wants them gone, which I think sets up a great precedent for like setting up things like the Illuminati, which happened in the comic books. I think just you're setting things up to where I think you can really go places with it in later on.
And he's a good counterpoint for Thor, because up until now, Hulk was kind of the only one that could really go toe to toe with Thor. But I could see like Thor and Doctor Strange now having like a dispute, and because they are pretty much equals, really. Because like once Doctor Strange reaches the peak of his power, like he's kind of the most powerful member of the Avengers, isn't he? Like I remember in one of the comics, he has been referred to as like the most powerful human alive, or like one of the most powerful humans.
He's one of them, probably. So essentially,
like, like he could take on Thor when he's like probably in the next movie when he's got more of his skill level. But
he could probably pick up Thor's hammer, like not with his hands, but just use magic to pick it up and just throw it at Thor.
How great would that scene be of like
Vision
the cape,
the cape, Thor, but
the cape hands him. How great would the scene be if the cape hands Thor his hammer? Of like in the third, like Doctor's like
the cape is worthy.
The cape just hands Thor his hammer. Thor's just like, this is happening way too often, man. Like he's like.
He doesn't feel so special anymore.
It's just Doctor Strange and the cape just like throwing it to each other like hot potato,
Yeah,
Thor's
or like monkey in the middle. Thor's in the middle, like they're trying like, come get it, Thor, come catch it, Thor.
I mentioned this last week, but I think that the Thor post-credit scene is actually a scene from Thor Ragnarok, because it's clear that so much has happened to Thor and Loki before that scene. Like, because Thor doesn't know that Odin has been replaced by Loki in Asgard. He doesn't know that his father's missing. So clearly they found out what's happened, that Odin's gone missing, he's been sent to Earth or whatever's happened, and they're trying to find him. And I think that much like at the end credits of Ant-Man, we got a scene from Captain America Civil War, I think we're getting a scene from Thor Ragnarok, and that Doctor Strange is actually going to have maybe a Spider-Man-esque presence in Thor Ragnarok.
Well, definitely, because Taika Waititi directed that scene, so I think it only makes sense in the same way that Thor post-credit scene featuring the Collector from Guardians of the Galaxy felt like a scene from that film, in the same sense. Yeah, I do really like. Yeah, go ahead, Bandit.
Yeah, because going back to like the whole thing with Odin, because if people cast their minds all the way back to Thor: The Dark World, it seems so long ago, but that movie ended where Odin's has been replaced by Loki, who's imitating him with one of his illusions. And the implication of that is that Loki has done something to Odin, gotten rid of him somehow, and then replaced him. But now with this end credit scene, if Loki doesn't know where he is because they're looking for him, then perhaps something else removed Odin, and Loki, just being an opportunist, is like, well, I'll pretend to be Odin.
My guess is that Loki banished him into like a little separate area for him, like a prison somewhere near Asgard, or somewhere in one of those realms, and then because there's photos of him, going around New York on set filming Thor Ragnarok. So I think that plays into it, and I think something else has happened to where he is now on New York. He's now there. Something has occurred, or maybe Loki just brain wiped him and let him be a bum in New York. I don't know.
You know what? Yeah. Thor Ragnarok, isn't the idea with Ragnarok, that comic book storyline, is that like Odin and Thor and all those gods, but there are gods who like feed on the gods?
Yeah, something Ragnarok like it. It's the end of, essentially,
so maybe,
the end of time. Yes.
Maybe they're the reason Odin's disappeared, because they grabbed him to feed on him. That might be the reason why he's gone. Yeah.
Perhaps. I'm just interested to see how, because you're gonna have to have the Ragnarok storyline. Doctor Strange is gonna be in there. Planet Hulk's gonna have some kind of big deal, and I'm really intrigued to see how Thor Ragnarok plays out now. And I think that's where we're probably gonna see. Again, with my theory, I think that's where we're going to see the final Infinity Stone. I don't think it's going to be in Guardians 2, because James Gunn's come out and said there's no Infinity Stone in this film, which I'm completely down for.
Yeah, because they've already got an Infinity Stone in the Guardians sort of corner of this universe already. They don't need another one. They don't need two. Yeah. Don't get selfish, Guardians. But
and that's just dangerous to keep two in the same place. Yeah.
But having watched this Doctor Strange a second time. When he's driving in his car and he gets the call before he has the accident, and they say, "Oh, do you want to fix the spine of a guy who was in an iron suit accident?" That definitely is Rhodey, because watching it a second time, they say an Air Force colonel who hurt his back in an iron suit accident. So it definitely is Rhodey. First time I saw it, I thought that can't be Rhodey, because in Winter Soldier, that's the first time that guy mentions Doctor Strange, and if that's Rhodey they're talking about on the phone call, Doctor Strange didn't actually have his superpowers back in Winter Soldier. So,
well, the guy in Winter
Soldier
wasn't
much earlier than that.
Yeah, well, he drops that line saying about anyone who is currently and or will be a threat to Shield, or not to or to Hydra. So, but I think here's why I don't think it's Rhodey, simply because I think far more time passes in Doctor Strange than is given up, because I don't think he was just chilling in in Nepal for a few months. I think he was in there for maybe a year or longer. He was there for a long time. So I'm thinking maybe, here's my theory. Maybe it is that guy, because it also takes time to recover your hands like that. He's in that accident, he's recovering, and by the time he's, quote unquote healed up and his hands are still there, it's been a long passage of time from that point on.
Or
and then he spends all that.
It's been a couple of months, because he hasn't finished his training yet, which is why he gets his ass kicked by Mads Mikkelsen, which he should. Yeah. Because a person who has not finished their training should not be able to beat up someone who spent their entire life training in something.
Move on, Bandit. Bandit, please stop.
What are you referring to? I'm just talking about Doctor Strange.
I'm gonna grab my sling ring. I'm gonna go to Australia. I will personally kick your teeth in. All right. I'll be right back.
I'll bring the popcorn.
Yes,
thank you, Trilbee.
I love that Doctor Strange got his powers through study and practice, years of it, not through winning some genetic lottery. Yes, that's good. So anyway.
Now this is pod racing.
My point is, I like to test that theory that the guy who had an accident in an armor suit might be. I don't think it's Rhodey, because I don't think Doctor Strange happens the same time that Civil War does, roughly. That doesn't, because that would mean, what I'm saying, because that would mean that. Because Civil War takes place, I would imagine, in 2016-ish, around this time of if not a couple of years, maybe future. So I don't think because that would mean that Doctor Strange happens at least. The events of Doctor Strange the ending of Doctor Strange is at least like a year or two after the events of Civil War, which doesn't make sense to me. So I don't think it was Rhodey either. I think it might be that guy. Remember in Iron Man 2, that guy that the suit turns around in, and like his legs stay front and his torso turns back. I think it might be that guy.
Yeah, that'd make sense, like time wise, like
yeah,
you say, yeah. But he also makes mention, like when Doctor Strange goes and meets the Ancient One the first time, and she's describing healing him. He says, "Oh, do you mean bleeding edge technology? Is that what you're?"
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
That was beautiful.
Bleeding edge, for anyone who doesn't know, I mentioned this in my review on my YouTube channel. But bleeding edge is Iron Man upgrades his suit in the comics to a point where it's formed out of nanotech, and it's nanotech that can actually be stored inside the cells of his body. So just by thinking it can just go zip and just appear over his skin, which is really cool. So they make a reference to that. But I thought, before they want to bring that in this movie, maybe they could link Avengers up with Guardians of the Galaxy, so Tony could be like, I sort of adapted this from alien technology, because I know Tony's smart, but saying that he
worked
can
so well
do
last
bleeding
time.
edge armor on his own is a little bit not as believable.
I don't know. I think he could pull it off. I think at this rate, if I'm down for accepting the fact that Rhodey fell, from terminal, from thousands of feet in the air and didn't just turn into mush inside his suit, I'm okay with saying that Tony Stark has spent the last few years developing a bleeding edge technology.
I suppose that's true. I mean, in Age of Ultron went from being a computer program to having a full metal body and an entire army within 10 minutes of the movie. So I guess they could do that for Tony
I don't know
Stark.
how you managed to pull that off, but I don't know how you managed to somehow crap on Age of Ultron. I don't know how you're so good at doing that. It's like those quick snipes. You think I don't catch them, and then you put them in there.
The drive
I like that movie so much. You just all right.
But
okay.
I think it's time for Marvel to move away from the giant laser being shot up into the sky and opening up a portal where an evil entity comes through. It's time to move on, Marvel. You've done that.
It wasn't a giant laser.
Fun.
I thought it was.
It's been a good time. Other movie franchises have been copying that. Time to move on, guys. If the laser in the sky was Jack Daniels, you guys had a pretty bad relapse here with Doctor Strange.
It wasn't a laser in the sky. It was just a portal. I'm okay with it, especially because of the way it looked and everything. It was it was such a different kind of visual that I think it works far better than it just being a random laser into the sky.
Yeah. I agree with Trey. I get the parallels. It kind of makes sense, but it looks so different to say the big swirling trash heap in the sky from Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Or the portal from Avengers, or the portal from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, and the portal from all these this, that, and the other.
The portal from, or the laser from first Ninja Turtles, or the portal from the second Ninja Turtles. It's
from Man of Steel.
Man of Steel, yeah.
Well, yeah, Man of Steel.
The portal that I'm sure will be in Justice League.
Most definitely. Counting on it. I think it was good for Marvel, especially and talking about that climax. I was so happy that we didn't just get a final fight between another, you know what I'm saying? We didn't just in the same way Ant-Man was just it's Ant-Man fighting another Ant-Man, or Iron Man fighting another Iron Man. Yeah. This one wasn't a fight. It was in many ways, it was a very smart way of handling it. It was a very Stephen Strange way to handle the situation. And by the end, you can tell he's been killed by maybe at least 100 times, and Jeremy's just fine. What do you want? And I was like, that's so great. It's just leave Earth alone, or else you're gonna be my prisoner for the rest of time. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good ending. Yeah. And I agree with you. It's good that it didn't end with him and Mads Mikkelsen having a showdown. He found another way around it. Yeah.
Yeah. But significant that character was, by the way. I would just be oh yeah, I showed up and now you're dust. Bye.
He basically gets flushed down the toilet, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I really liked Chiwetel Ejiofor and Tilda Swinton. I think that this is a superb supporting cast, even if Rachel McAdams and Mads Mikkelsen were wasted for the most part. But I think that those two, in particular, really helped to almost steal the movie from Cumberbatch, who's terrific. But Chiwetel Ejiofor is in my opinion, one of the best actors working today. Like,
he's very talented. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah,
but I thought he was very bland. I thought he was very bland in this film, if I'm honest with you.
I think he added a lot to the material because it's kind of a guy who's earnest and honest to a fault, and then once his entire worldview is turned upside down from what the Ancient One did, he has no idea how to cope with it. I kind of like that approach.
But he also suffers from Marvel guy going crazy for no reason itis.
No. Watching it a second time, there's a lot more to his character than you think. They do mention quite a lot. Like the Ancient One mentions that he's like a stickler for the rule, and he's very rigid and inflexible in his way of thinking. And she says a lot of that's from how he was raised. So like for him, when she's preaching one rule and then not doing it herself is absolutely unforgivable for him. So
it doesn't change how jarring it doesn't change how jarring it is for him to, because you can tell if what they were trying to go for was a sense of conflict, in the sense that he was trying to do the right thing and help Strange defeat Caecilius and Dormammu, and still try to be because if he is a human, a pure person that is trying to abide by the true rules, but to suddenly say, oh, I've now spent months and I'm now going to decide in a post-credit scene to become the villain of the movie, it felt very, dare I say, Green Lantern.
The best villains don't think that they're villains.
No, it doesn't.
From his perspective.
But it's the sense
from
that
my point of view, the sorcerers are evil. Well, then you're lost.
No, but it's a matter of he goes from realizing how wrong the Ancient One is for doing what she does, to going to decide to help to stand with Strange, and then deciding to leave, realizing how broken the system he feels is, to then go and say he leaves the Sanctum Sanctorum, he leaves that area because he feels like they're breaking too many rules, and then goes around and starts killing or taking powers from sorcerers. That doesn't mesh. He can't, you know what I'm saying? It's hypocritical in the sense of how they're trying to handle this character.
No, I think it was. Watching it a second time, I don't think so, because I think
I've seen it twice as well.
His view is that, like, because he's held the Ancient One up on such a high pedestal, where he's like, if even she violates the laws of nature, then no magicians can ever be trusted. So he's thinking, at least the way I interpreted it, was that as long as there's magicians, as long as there's people practicing magic, there's always going to be people messing with the laws of nature and causing all these problems. So for the greater good, got to get rid of magicians. It's a bit like... We keep coming back to Star Wars, but it's a bit like in Star Wars. Think about it. Like, if you were to just get rid of all Jedi and all Sith, it would be a lot better for that universe.
I disagree. The Force would find... No,
I
always
disagree. Wars between the
I
light
disagree
and the dark
because
side.
the Force would find some other way to keep itself going in the universe.
Yeah.
But
or it's like the X-Men, where they want to get rid of all mutants because they'll be like... So there's a certain logic to what he's doing, and he has like... There's a solid character-based reason for what he's doing, so I thought he was a good character.
I'm not saying that there's not a reason for it. Maybe I'm not saying that they don't give their best attempt to justify what, but I think it's a matter of watching it as a film. He goes from not trusting the Ancient One and what they do with the Sanctorum anymore, and what they do as sorcerers anymore, to then deciding to work with Doctor Strange and save the day, to then deciding to peace because he doesn't like how they've handled the rules of nature, to then going around and taking powers from wizards, seems to be rather flip-floppy, I think, in how he's handling this. I thought, and maybe it doesn't help that I feel like Ejiofor gives kind of a one-note performance anyways for essentially the whole... He goes from being, oh, we must respect the rules, to screaming and bed, and then we're back to doing this, and then he screams a bit more. I don't know. Maybe I've seen the film twice, and so I wasn't a fan of how they handled Mordo. He was maybe my biggest problem with the film, besides the trash score, but whatever.
Well, I thought his take was kind of like, again, being the older one in the podcast. It's like, as you get older, everybody has that moment where, like, either when you're younger or when you're older, everybody growing up has a moment where you realize, like, your parent or parents are not perfect. They are flawed. And, like, if that happens, especially when you're younger, it's pretty shocking, So,
and
like,
it's not just...
That's sort of how I view his how he kind of spins off his axis a bit after the Ancient One betrayal, in air quotes. Even though, like, we can all go, well, yeah, she was probably using the Dark Dimension energy just because she knew she couldn't get corrupted by it. But it's not a good idea for anyone else to do it. You know, so, like, no, I thought that was fine. He's essentially a little kid whose parents are getting divorced, and he's like, I can't believe it, so I'm going to lash out at everyone now. He's like that, you know.
Yeah, well, it's not just being portrayed by like a paternal figure or somebody who you look up to. It's just having your entire worldview and moral compass shaken. And I think that he's not just. Yeah, tell me
what he
it.
said.
Yeah, Twitter does that. But then when you, and then at the end, what he does, he kind of sees it as. He probably sees it as a good thing, but who knows what he's doing. I'm not saying that this automatically makes his change much better, but it's so much better than Green Lantern. When the entire movie is basically, no, the Green Ring is so much better than the Yellow Ring, and we're going to go out of our way to prove how awesome that is. And then the end credits are basically, I'm just going to put on the Yellow Ring. That I've just been proven to my face how ineffective it is. It's far more
similar than you're giving it credit for, because in Green Lantern, Sinestro does have that scene where he talks with the Guardians, and he talks about how, you know, we need to do this, this, and this. And they're like, no. He's like, fine, then I'll have to turn to another. There's each character gets probably like one scene of like. I think it's weird that he went from conflicted hero by end credits to killing people essentially in the post credits.
He doesn't kill him. He just takes away his energy.
You know what I mean.
Because he's like, no one's allowed to have magic anymore because no one can use it responsibly. Is what his idea.
I think
this is his flip is not comparable to Sinestro in Green Lantern, because if it was, the end credit scene would have been him drawing on power from the Dark Dimension, going, ha ha ha, now I can do it too. But it wasn't that.
All right. Well, we're not gonna sway each other. I'm tired of talking in circles. Anything else you guys have to say about Doctor Strange?
Tilda Swinton.
We always hit that moment where we're talking in circles and we go, all right, let's move on.
I know, because future me now is getting really sick of listening to us talk about this like this. So I'll tell you what.
I did love Tilda Swinton, and my favourite scene of the whole movie is when she's taken her astral form and is looking out on the balcony of the hospital. And those two are stood in front, and that's basically that's the moment where it started to sink in to me that this is a movie about failure and learning to advance from your failures and not being afraid to fail, because Doctor Strange is about to lose his mentor and she's just absolutely fine to go. She knows that it's her time and that she knows that she's done wrong, but for the greater good, and that it's cheers, Trey. And it's just so beautifully written and so well shot as well, and I know it's obviously just them in front of the green screen.
We're like Trilbee's like the teacher, like trying to give us good lesson, and being better, the idiots giggling in the back of class.
No, but I did say the greater good, so I did set myself up for that one.
I do. Going back to your point, I do. How touching is that line of like, you think I'd be ready by now? And like, she said how she's gone through. She's tried her best to work through time and look ahead, but it always comes back to this exact same moment. And like and you can see that like she's reliving the moment as she's having to repeat over and over, and like infinite clouds behind infinite clouds, and it's very, very touching. And it's a very, again, talented actors. I will give you this. Tilda Swinton, I think, has the best like faces of the movie. She has some of the great reaction faces of like that kind of open, almost vacant expression smile that she gives sometimes. Of like it's just tea with a bit of honey. I love.
Something else I appreciated though was it didn't end with the Ancient One going to Doctor Strange going, now you are the Sorcerer Supreme. I pass the mantle on to you. Like a lesser movie would have done that. But this one, it didn't with that. Obviously, the name of the next movie is going to be Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, where he's going to be, like, earning that title. But Wong is like, we don't have a Sorcerer Supreme to protect us anymore. And Doctor Strange is like, we'll figure it out. We'll protect the Earth. So, like, I like that they didn't jump the gun and go, now you're the Sorcerer. That was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've got Doctor Strange 2, Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange 3, Wong's Revenge.
Wong in the funky bunch.
But like I echo Tracy's
4, Doctor Strange 4, Wong discovers twerking, Doctor Strange 4.
Wong has to get his groove back.
Or
Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Back to the hood.
Doctor Strange.
You know.
Doctor Strange 5. Wong meets BET.
Wong versus Predator.
Wong
versus
7.
Alien
Electric
versus
Wongaloo.
Well,
I echo Trey's sentiments about after the film's over, I guess want to immediately jump back into this universe or see how he interacts with the other Avengers. I hope. I'm guessing the next time you see him will be in Infinity War, and I just would love to see how this character interacts with other Avengers or other villains and stuff. It feels like a wholly satisfying movie on its own, but I'm looking forward to the rest.
What was that, Bandit?
I want him to be the serious one of the group. I mean, of course, no one's ever totally serious in this, except for Wong. No, even he's not totally serious. But yeah, I don't want him to be jokey. I want him to be more sort of the core of the group, serious, like sober, that kind of guy, you know?
Really?
Yeah,
But
I think the group
not
needs
that guy.
that. They need like the solid
He's not that character
leader.
in the movie, though.
But Captain America is kind of that, but since the group split, I think you need sort of a nexus, sort of a foundation that the group can be built on, a solid foundation, you know?
I think I would hate for him to become the quote unquote leader character, or not, maybe not the leader, but like the
straight man.
The straight man, because he's not the straight man in this in this story.
Well, not so much the straight man. No one's totally the straight man, but I don't want him to turn jokey, is what I mean. I don't want him to be like the guy who's making the wisecrack lines every minute. I'm like, we already got those characters. I think he could bring a different energy.
To be fair, that's everybody in the MCU though. Everyone kind of has that line to make
everyone. But,
I think like maybe Wanda is the only, like Scarlet Witch is like the only character to not make a bunch of quips at a time. That's just because she doesn't get a lot of lines.
Yeah.
That's because that accent's trash. But anyways,
it feels like with Doctor Strange in this movie he's not really the straight man, but a lot of humor happens at his expense. Like he tries to have a serious moment. He's got tears on his eyes, and then the cloak of levitation wipes the tears away.
Fantastic, love that. That was he puts up the collar and like the intense action music. Any Sherlock fans out there will know that that's a big thing in the Sherlock TV series. Is that whenever he wants to think, he puts up the collar too. So I started giggling with that.
The scene where he first activates like many of his powers, and he has a fighting pose, and then one of his arms like short circuits and stops working.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the humor just happens at his expense, and I'm looking forward to the scene. And you know the scene when Doctor Strange and Tony Stark meet for the first time, shake hands, and the look in their eyes would just say, "I know I'm going to hate this guy."
I love. Someone's gonna be like he's Tony Stark's gonna make a line just like, and this man over here with the excellent facial hair, by the way, because he's gonna make a comment on how they're gonna make some comment about how they have the same facial hair and have the same grain hair on the sides. You know, they look far more similar than they'd like to admit. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
So how okay was the music?
Oh, all right. So
it was adequate. I liked the credits theme, but that was really it. It didn't really stand out a lot for me, to be honest.
I would have liked the credits theme if it wasn't just. And here's how I really know that the music was as unoriginal and trash as I thought it was, because I went and saw the film a second time with my friend Christian. You've met him, Bandit. And he's in band and he plays the trumpet. And they played the Star Trek reboot score at a concert once, and so he knows that music. It's there in his head. And like we're in the end credits, and he's just like, "Is that Star Trek?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, all the notes are the same." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right." And it was like, that's what it was. It sounded just like the Star Trek score, which is lazy. And also, there's already the stigma going around that the MCU does not have a good symphonic track record, if that makes any sense. That the scores for the Marvel movies are always very much forgettable and bland, which is not inherently true. There's a lot of great music in these movies.
Except for the Avengers theme. Everyone recognizes that.
No, you'd be surprised. Apparently not. If your name is Every Frame of Painting, you apparently don't know that theme exists in today's world. Anyways, now he did a video about that, and they just failed to bring that up at all.
Yeah,
what's interesting
the Avengers
is
theme
that...
No, that's Star Trek.
That's
it. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. And then taking a stand from the Winter Soldier is fantastic.
I love Ant-Man's theme. dun,
Ant-Man
dun,
has a
dun,
great-
dun,
yes.
dun, 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 dun. Yeah,
There's
it's
a
awesome.
lot of great music. The 1940s
To
esque
quote
music from the
Thor,
first
I'm
Avenger.
surprised you really remember that.
Yeah, I'm surprised you know what that is.
The music from the Hulk is outstanding.
From the
Not
Hulk,
gonna lie. Craig Armstrong's score is probably one of the best MCU scores. Like, it's incredible.
Out, but that's my and so I think
Winter Soldier's theme.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that word like that, like I love that. I love that dying dog sound. I do, and so I do think that the MCU has a lot of great sound cues and a lot of great music in it. And as someone who pays attention to film scores and listens to film scores on the regular, it really depresses me to think that, oh, so the Doctor Strange theme is just a Star Trek theme then. Okay, sure. Whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Tony
most
Stark's
of the
theme?
music.
Tony Stark's theme. Any AC/DC song.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fitting. But the music from the Avengers is basically a carbon copy of Alan Silvestri's score from the A-Team movie. I'm not even making that up. Like, honestly, there's a scene where in Captain America: The First Avenger when he jumps out the plane after talking about fondue, and it's the exact same music that plays during that really long one take in the Avengers fight when all of the Avengers get a moment, and then Tony fires his repulsors at Cap's shield and reflects it and flies at the building, and Hawkeye's there. It's the exact same music as the tank sequence from the A-Team when the tank is falling out of the sky. It's the exact same music.
I'm gonna look that up
because
because I don't believe you, so I'm gonna look that up.
I have checked.
I love it. I love it when movies like copy soundtracks from each other and think nobody will notice. I remember the first Man of Steel trailer had the music from Lord of the Rings when Gandalf dies.
Yeah,
yeah. And everyone's
trailers
like, "Hey,
trailers are different.
trailers
are
Brothers,
different.
But you can't do that."
Yeah. Well, a trailer is different from an actual movie. I do love the Man of Steel score. I'll give DC this. They definitely have Marvel beat in terms of music, obviously.
Yeah, their music's way better. Yeah.
The Man of Steel soundtrack.
Such great music.
And then the rousing Superman theme itself, I think is beautiful. Even though that plays
the Inception boom as well.
They did create the boom.
Not sure if we should be happy for that.
Yeah, it's in every trailer uses it.
But then everyone started doing it.
So now every time I watch Inception, I'm like, oh, what have we done? Like Bilbo Baggins, what have we done? Okay. You guys have any future notes on Doctor Strange? Is that it?
Yeah, that's all my notes I had written down.
All right.
Yeah, that's all I've got to say. But I just really want to see it again in 3D. And Stan Lee's cameo, not the best, but it's just lovely to see.
Oh, garbage! Waste of time.
Yeah,
Why was it even
there?
there?
He's a crane driver or something, isn't it?
No,
he's on the bus.
He's on a bus reading a book called The Doors of Perception, which is like a really trippy psychological book from the 50s.
And he says that's hilarious. I'm like, which is a nice nod, but I thought it was a waste of a cameo. I thought it came out of nowhere and it took me out of the film. I thought the one from Civil War was great because they kept it at the end.
Tony Stank.
Yeah, this is Tony Stank. He's over here. I'm like, I bet that whole scene was improvised. And I loved his cameo in something like Ant-Man, which worked awesome and fit the tone of the scene. It's at the very end of the film when he's talking about the bartender and Luis is telling the story of how Falcon friend was like crazy stupid fine. And then I loved his Guardians cameo, but the cameo in this film just felt wasted.
Did you
my
hear the news
favorite
that
one is in Iron Man, the original Iron Man, where he's Hugh Hefner.
Yeah,
with his Playboy bunnies,
Yeah,
that was the best one, yeah.
I like his Iron Man 2 cameo. That one was quick.
Well, did you hear the news story that they filmed like 4 or 5 Stan Lee cameos?
Yeah, they filmed 5 of them just in case. Yeah,
and one of them was directed by James Gunn.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old do you reckon Stan Lee is now?
He's older than time.
He's 93.
Do you reckon they filmed a few things where they can make him the Watcher? Because that's the ongoing joke, because he's the Watcher.
Doubt it.
For
the
unfinished, should we explain what that is for anyone who doesn't know?
I don't. I mean, before we get into that, I will say they're probably going to have a statue of him somewhere once he finally does die. They're going to have a statue of him in a movie somewhere. But anyways, you can tell them what the Watcher is.
Actually, I was hoping one of you guys would, because I don't know that much about it.
Me neither. That's why I'm
Other than he's in the Watcher, he's an entity that just watches. So throughout all time, which would explain why Stan Lee's in all these different places and all these different times.
The Watcher is a character from like started in Fantastic Four in the 60s. It's a part of that whole cosmic era of comic books of Fantastic Four and Doctor Strange and all that stuff. And basically, the Watcher basically just watches over everything. It's just a bit of a boring, bald guy. There's not a lot really to talk about with the Watcher except that they're everywhere and that they watch people for some reason. I don't know that much about their history in terms of the comics, but that's kind of what they do.
Yeah, in the comics they always have characters like that are sort of omnipotent and don't interfere, and they always watch around, but they bring them in whenever they need like to write themselves out of a circle where they're like, let's just say there's these beings that have the power to fix the problem, and we can just talk them into intervening with some speech. So it's a way of writing you can have the whole world explode and then just go to this guy and he'll be like, all right, you convinced me, I'll interfere, snaps his fingers and the world's fixed again. So.
Oh yeah, they are Deus Ex Machinas, really.
Yeah, yeah, they're walking Deus Ex Machinas. Yeah.
Maybe played by Stanley.
Yes. So I hope they filmed a scene of something like that, or at least got a good CG model of him stored in the computer, so they can do that later.
I don't think Stanley's a good enough actor to play the Watcher, if I'm honest with you. I think that
he's been in more films than you, Trey.
Yeah,
and I'm not trying. I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to be a major character in the MCU. I don't know. Maybe I don't think Stan Lee's a good enough actor to be. I'm just saying. There's a reason they don't give him a lot of
You were in
lines.
The Revenant.
Oh yeah,
Poking the bear. Terrible joke. I'm sorry, guys.
Trey, you were in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
I was a stunt double. Yeah.
They
kept me out.
Oh, can you imagine?
One of the darkest omens of our world.
Avengers Infinity War, Stan Lee has a 2-minute appearance as the Watcher, and then next year at the Oscars he gets nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Only if he dies.
No, I like to think he gives that great of a performance that even Anthony Hopkins is like, damn, I only had 15 minutes to get my Oscar, but you got it in 2.
You know what? Sorry to take us on a sidetrack, but do you reckon we should actually try to find the really, really black kid?
What do you mean?
Maybe we could find out who he is and we could send him a link to that video we did of him.
No way! Absolutely
Why not? I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to us.
No way!
Let's get him on the show for the final Harry Potter episode. There we go.
Episode.
Oh my god, he's our episode. He's our guest episode 100. It's starring blah blah blah. Is the really really black kid?
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna see if I can find out who he is, and maybe he's on
Bandit,
Twitter or
don't
something.
you dare!
I'll send him a message. Hey, the really really black kid, join our podcast. Think of it from the perspective of that guy. You had
like, hey, we watch you because you're really, really black. Come over here.
But come on, he's probably walked around his whole life going, I was in Harry Potter, and they're like, really? He's like, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
I was
he'd be famous on this show, and he doesn't even know it.
He's already famous on the show.
I know, but he doesn't know he's famous here yet.
I don't.
It's probably the closest we'd ever get to a celebrity on the show. I'm going to do that. I'm going to see if I can find him on Twitter.
Oh my
See, the thing is that like we could just be like, it's a podcast. Anyone could be that guy, and we can just claim, it's him from Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
That's our backup plan. If we can't find him,
I could
we'll just get some dude who comes on the show. Is like, hey, I'm the really really black dude.
Like, I was at Harry Potter. I was the black guy. One black guy.
No wait, he's British, isn't he? So yeah. Trilbee, just get one of your friends to call up. Go, hello.
Get your girlfriend.
I'm the really black kid.
Tell her to give a deeper voice, and she'll be able to pull this off. I'm actually looking for the guy right now on IMDb.
I don't know the character's name though. What is he called?
Sure, the audience can tell us. I'm sure they can easily
just have a name. He might just be like an extra sort of thing. He has a speaking role. They have to give him a name. We know.
Your name is Toby. Your name is Toby.
He's the real serious black. Yeah.
He doesn't have a name. Oh yeah, because we just don't have names. Basically, we just pop out, just don't have names anymore.
Oh, God.
It's a whole other 3/5 compromise. They get to act, but they don't give us a name.
No, we just name ourselves after rappers we like. I'm Baby Tupac.
Yeah, he's black kid. He's a really black kid. I'm the really, really black kid. Yeah, we just, yeah.
All right. So tune in for that episode where we're guaranteed to have that guy on.
Movie Mania episode 100. We get him on.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Okay, so before we head to listener questions, so Trilbee, as actually you've got to head out, don't you?
Yes, I am floor managing on a TV series tomorrow, which should be a lot of fun.
Right. Well, where can people find you then, Trilbee?
Well, you can find me on my website at www.trilbee.com. You can find me on Twitter at Trilbee Reviews, on YouTube at Trilbee Reviews, and all that good stuff. And you can find me on my own podcast, the Film Brits podcast, every week on YouTube.
All right. Well, we'll see you later, Trilbee. It was good talking with you.
It was very fun talking with you about Doctor Strange, and it's amazing music and poking Trey the Big Bear. Love you, Trey.
Hashtag poke the bem. All right.
Poke the bem.
Poke the bem. All right, see you guys next week.
See you guys.
All right, take care, guys. Bye.
All right, so listener questions. Starting off here, Tom Quirk on Facebook asks, assuming that Thanos is disposed of in Infinity War, who would you recommend as a good villain for Avengers 4? Hey, that rhymes.
Maybe Hulk, if we do a World War Hulk.
That's why I think that's where they're going for. If not Hulk, maybe something with the Fantastic Four, because Avengers 4 is due out. Nope, that's my pop filter. Avengers 4 is due out May of 2019, which is a year after. Is a year after Infinity War comes out. So I would imagine that the fourth Avengers film is going to have to be something that carries over from Infinity War, which I would imagine maybe would be World War Hulk. So that's my theory. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no. That'd be good. I'd love to see a fully evil Hulk versus the entire Avengers.
Yes. Though my question is now, what would happen to Hulk that would cause him to go that way? You know what I'm saying? Like what happened to him that caused him to go that far? To be that far gone.
It wouldn't necessarily have to be from any external thing like Black Widow getting killed or anything like that, because that was going to
be my theory. That I thought Black Widow might die, but sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but they probably wouldn't want to kill Scarlett Johansson though. I mean, if they brought back Betty, they could kill Betty, but
no, because then you just bring her back to kill her off. You pull Walking Dead.
The thing with Hulk's character is it's all the internal battle between him and the other guy, as he calls him. So you could just write in that he's just sort of lost the battle and the other guy's taken over.
Yeah, but I feel like we've seen the other guy take over before in Hulk movies, and before. I think it'd be nice to have something different, like because since I keep knocking over my pop filter, I apologize. Since the Illuminati is not the reason he is sent into space, since he goes there on his own, which we saw at the end of Age of Ultron. We now know. I think it'd be nice. There has to be something that causes him to go crazy if he is doing World War Hulk. And I think that you got a point. I think the death of Black Widow is something that could easily do that for us. And I think you say, they're not going to kill Scarlett Johansson, but hey, she's working on her own franchise right now. She's got Ghost in the Shell coming out next year, and I think people have to die in Infinity War. That's got to be a thing. You can't just have another fun Avengers film with no consequences.
Yeah. Well, there isn't there.
And also, apparently, Quicksilver is coming back. By the way, I think that's one of the rumors. Yeah.
Oh, really? Ugh.
Yeah, that's one of the rumors. That's why you see what I'm saying.
Lack of consequences in this universe. Yeah. But I think just from memory, I remember from one of the animated movies, there's a version where Loki messes around in Hulk's head because he wants to sort of use him as like his puppet weapon, sort of thing, and it kind of goes totally wrong. And just from poking around in Hulk's brain, is the other guy just completely takes over and goes and smashes up Asgard. Like, they could do that. Like, Loki could mess with Hulk's head.
Yeah. Yeah, they could do something like that. But at the same time, we've also already seen that in the movies. We saw that with Scarlet Witch.
Maybe
Scarlet Witch
a spell actually. Oh, here, how about this one? Hulk tries to undergo like some kind of spell to permanently separate him from the other guy, but when he does
with the help
that,
of Stephen Strange, yeah.
Huh?
With the help of Stephen Strange,
yeah. But like when he does that, then the Hulk literally becomes just the other guy and gets out of control. So they have to merge them.
Then
back
you could
to
have that
control
scene
them
where
again.
Hulk breaks Stephen Strange's hands from over
hands
Hulk.
again. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so great! It's like, and like you think it's working, and then
Like,
suddenly like
I know
Hulk
you're
grabs
in
the-
there, Dr. Banner. He'd just be like, take my hands.
That'd be
great.
so sick. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, because
but
the Avengers would still think that Hulk does have Bruce Banner still in there somewhere that they can appeal to calm him down. But if he's been separated, yeah, that'd be a good story.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good idea.
I'm sure they'll probably do it because Marvel they're always one step ahead of us.
I mean, I've been wanting to do World War Hulk for years now. I've thought like I'm like they're building World War Hulk. Just wait. Phase 4 World War Hulk. Yeah.
Be interesting to see a Hulk versus Vision fight.
I feel like that's way more one-sided than you think it is.
You mean because Vision can just turn like it can just phase out so he can't be hit,
or he can just like phase into Hulk and like grow, you know, or like not grow and like and like fate like he like punch through Hulk's heart, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but if it's after Infinity Wars, the stone in his head will have been ripped out.
Yes,
so he might
can't
be
face
dead
through
by
things
then.
anymore. Vision's probably gonna die. Yes, because how cool! Oh, I'm excited for that scene where Thanos just rips it out of Vision's face. That's gonna be pretty intense.
Scarlet Witch is like, no,
and then she can die because you gotta have some more drama. I'm telling you, man, I want that body count to be high. Yes. Do you have a question?
Oh, yeah. See, I was too caught up in our fan fiction we were creating there. Okay, who, in your opinion, is the top 3... Oh, this is Joshua Udi, by the way.
Hey,
who, in your
Josh.
opinion, is the top 3 actress/actors, and who are the top 3 characters in the MCU? So, top 3 actors or actresses of all time? Well, how about we just start with the top 3 characters in MCU and we go from there?
I think the actors and actresses are in the MCU as well. I think that's all a part of the MCU. That's how I read it, at least. And I think my favorite characters are not inherently my favorite actors, because I don't think Chris Evans is the best actor in the films. But I think the way they've handled Captain America, especially that in Winter Soldier, makes him in my top 3 definitely. I love their take on Spider-Man, and then maybe it's just recency bias, but I love the way they're handling Doctor Strange. But Rob Downey Jr. in terms of the best actors in the MCU right now, / actresses, I'm gonna go Downey Jr., Cumberbatch, and I'm trying to think. Yeah, there's a lot of performances.
I mean, obviously, like we discussed, obviously Cumberbatch is there now that he's in the MCU. He's in the number 1 spot. Robert Downey Jr. though, he might not be the guy that you think of as an actor in the same way Benedict Cumberbatch is an actor.
Yeah,
but he has literally carried this entire MCU universe on his shoulders
to a certain extent,
just off the charisma of him playing Iron Man, and that is by no means an accomplishment to be sniffed at. That's incredible.
You know what? If I really liked... I'm going to take out Doctor Strange for my characters. I'm going to put Loki, because I love Loki, and I love Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Yeah, Tom Hiddleston's great as Loki. But there's so much, you have... I love the way Anthony Hopkins plays Odin. I love Thor.
Wait, you got to
there's
put
a lot
Anthony
of
Hopkins in the top 3. I mean, as an actor,
I don't know
he's
how
an
you don't
actor's
do that.
actor.
Yeah.
That guy.
He is. He's
just
the
sheer body of work.
The way he does that in that first movie where he snaps at Loki.
Yeah.
Yes. And I tossed you out. Yeah,
with some fava beans.
And when you go down that fight, we some candy.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you have any top characters?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that list. Cumberbatch, Robert Downey Jr., and Anthony Hopkins. That's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I can get behind that. All right. Well then, let me see. Forgot the question. Thought I had one. Where did it go? Oh, yeah, Seb Petey, friend of the show, Seb Petey asked. Apparently, he said, since the first episode I asked this in this, and it's been lost in the ages. Trey, could you pitch us your idea for a live-action Last Airbender film?
Ooh.
Yeah, okay, so I think I've said this before on the show, that my dream film is to make a Last Airbender movie, and is to try to revamp that whole thing. And I'll give kind of the short form version of it, because I literally can talk about this franchise and what I want to do with it for hours. And I will say this, in terms of that, I would take time, and I would plan out each story not as adaptations of the show, but I would use the show as a way to tell one cohesive story, probably as a trilogy, obviously. And I think, have you seen the show Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yep, I've seen it.
Have you seen the entirety of it, or did you only see, like...
No, I wasn't able to see all of it. They were difficult to find. But, like, I watched most of Season 1, and it was really, really good. I just wasn't able to find the rest of it,
Season 2 really hits the Empire Strikes Back vibe, in the sense that, you know, you would get annoyed by how much Empire Strikes Back Season 2 is. Not even in the sense that it ends on like a sad note and a cliffhanger, but just as like, you know, finding a mentor figure and the hero's losing. It's like, it's very Empire Strikes Back, but I think that's what makes the show work. But I think all I really want to say is that it's important to respect what the show's done at the same time, but at the same time, don't be afraid to do your own thing. So I think that's ultimately where Shyamalan failed. I think, he made the movie 90 minutes long, which is a completely ridiculous and stupid move. So, you know, and I think he just didn't have the passion to adapt what the show did and put it into something reasonable. And I think he took that and he created this film that has horrible actors and horrible representation of what these characters are supposed to be. He took this really comedic and charismatic character of Sokka and turned her into a piece of wood that was just kind of there and made crazy eyes. He took Katara, this really strong and empowering female character, very ahead of her time to a certain extent, and made her just, again, this bland... First of all, they were, Inuit and in the upper, not whites. I will say in the show and in the movie, all three of the main characters are white people, but whatever. And especially that of Aang. I think if you can capture the spirit of the show and you can capture the essence of what the show was trying to do, and you can tell this story and you can have it get more serious and mature as the movies go along, then I think that's where you need to start. That's step one, is making sure that you capture the essence of what the show is all about. But I think that's the short form of what I would do. We don't have time to go into every little detail of what I would change and whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought about this for so long. I thought about this for such a long time in my life. It is one of my dream projects. If I ever do start making movies. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like from the episodes I saw, I could totally understand why it had such a following, because it was definitely very, very good. And I really enjoyed the episodes I saw. Well, I got a question here from B Inc., who says, what do you think about The Walking Dead so far?
Oh, do we have time to talk about that? I have an hour and a half worth of thoughts.
Which by no means is a code name. Is kind of wondering, should we still do...
tell you what.
Yeah, that was me, Bandit Incorporated.
I figured I got that now, like as you were talking, because I was looking for the question. I'm like, it's not on here. What are you talking about? I'm an idiot. We don't. I don't think.
Should we still?
So you're asking about that?
We were going to do another video talking about it, but we were both kind of busy. So, do you want to talk about it now, or should we just skip it, or should we do it later? Or...
I'm down for talking Walking Dead if you want to talk Walking Dead, Bandit. I don't think we have time to leave it and put it into this podcast because we're already at 2.5 hours, aren't we?
Yeah, that's right.
But if you want to talk Walking Dead,
so
anyone
else who wants to join us, it'll be on Trey's channel. That's where we do it.
Yes. So do you want to just end this now and then record that separately? Or do you want to?
We'll take a few more questions, but yeah, we can record it afterwards. Yeah.
Right on. Okay. Well, then we'll do that later then. Okay. I was
Sorry,
legit
everyone.
looking
That
for
was a distraction.
Yeah, I was like, wait, where's Beak on the show? Okay. Aji Lestrange, funny enough, friend of the show, Aji Lestrange, asked on Facebook, will Warner Brothers ever get the DC Cinematic Universe off the ground? One can only hope.
We kind of mentioned that in the news segment, didn't we?
Yeah. I honestly don't know. I honestly cannot. It's depressing to say, but
well, I mean, obviously they can get DC off the ground. It's DC. I just don't know whether they will be able to. But I mean, it's certainly possible.
They've got
so they
the universe
can.
off
I don't
the
think
ground.
they will.
They've gotten it off the ground in the sense that they've launched the universe, in that we have characters showing up in these films, and it's now becoming a connected universe. But if you're asking whether that off the ground meaning quality, meaning good, I honestly don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Because as much as I would like to think that Warner Brothers has learned their lesson, I thought they would have learned their lesson the first time around, and they didn't when Suicide Squad hit. Wonder Woman, for me, will be the final straw. That will determine whether or not, I think
it's going to be the final straw for a lot of people, actually, because
yeah.
We were all expecting them, or at least I was expecting them, to learn the lessons of Man of Steel for Batman v Superman. They didn't. We're expecting them to learn the lessons of Batman v Superman for Suicide Squad. They didn't. So now we're expecting them to learn the lessons of Suicide Squad with Wonder Woman. If they don't, that could be strike 3, and it's over.
Yeah.
Because people are getting fed up. Like, when I went through the comment section of that latest Wonder Woman trailer, like, a lot of people were excited, but a lot of other people were like, this is your last chance. So they really need to hit a home run soon. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's hoping.
Here's hope. Like it's like now, like
as a DC fan, it's so
on
painful
hope.
to see them fumbling around because I'm like, guys, it's so easy. Just do what the comics do.
Yeah, they have like 80 years of comics to pull from, and they don't know how to do it. Yeah, like it's ridiculous. It's depressing, but I don't know. They've got it off the ground in the sense that they have, but if you're asking, can they make quality entertainment? I don't know yet. We're gonna have to wait and see. Because right now we're all just kind of in the dark.
And it's Warner Brothers' own fault because they had these properties for such a long time, and they never did anything other than Batman, or never did anything good other than Batman. And now Marvel has come in and has done more with less. And it's
quoting Screen Junkies, I think it was Nick Mundy from Screen Junkies, he was just like, Marvel's a movie with an effing raccoon, and we can't even get Wonder Woman. And I was just like, yeah, that's true. That was like 3 years ago. I will say this.
Sorry,
my generation apparently is loving Suicide Squad, by the way. My generation being the kids I go to school with, and I'm so mad. I cannot tell you. We had a costume day at school, and I saw like 3 Suicide Squad Harley Quinns, and I said, that's so sad that Halloween this year was dominated by the wrong interpretation of that character, a false and misguided interpretation of what the relationship of Harley Quinn and the Joker need to be. I felt like such a purist nerd when that happened. I was like, that's just wrong. And everyone's just like, oh, the movie has such a good soundtrack. I'm like, shut up. You don't know. I'm like, if I wanted to get, you know what has a good soundtrack? Spotify. I can look it up on Spotify if I want a good soundtrack. I want to watch a movie. I'm paying $13 to sit in a recliner seat on a giant screen and watch a movie. I want some good movies, not a good soundtrack. And they got really mad at me when I said that. I was like, they were like, God, you're just wanting too much of your movies. I'm like, shut up, you don't know.
So you're becoming more like a film critic now, cause so you're starting to hate movies because you're becoming like a film critic.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any more questions on here you want to ask?
No, but I was just going to say with DC though, because like it's funny, like with that whole Nick Mundy thing, people are like, well, how is it that DC can't have had the rights to all the characters and Warner Brothers haven't been able to do anything, and then Marvel had half of their characters and they were able to do more? Like, weird life lesson for the day. Often, like, being in a disadvantage like that can actually be an advantage. Because by having less resources, it forces you to be more creative with the little that you have.
Restrictions create creativity, absolutely.
Exactly, yeah. So it's like Marvel not having all the characters they wanted. They didn't have the X-Men. They didn't have all the... So that got their creative juices flowing, and they created the Marvel Universe. DC had it all there on a platter. So they were just like, oh, Batman, what should we do? Oh, Batman again. Oh, what should we do? Superman movie that sucks. Green Lantern that sucks. Oh, let's go back to Batman. You know, they still haven't got the creative juices flowing over there at DC.
Yeah.
Well,
because Marvel didn't have your Spider-Mans and whatnot, so they had to make Iron Man good. Iron Man had to be a good movie. Hulk and Thor, like the Avengers, had to work, or else MCU would not be what it is. You know, so of course, it makes sense that DC they just have the rights to all their characters. So, of course, there's just going to be a bunch of trash.
And they did have a few false starts. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The Incredible Hulk was not particularly incredible. So, it wasn't all
disagree.
rosy.
I quite enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I know, the Incredible Hulk is like the forgotten child of the Marvel family. Everyone just kind of goes, oh, yeah, that existed.
I thought that's more Edward Norton's fault. That's Edward Norton's fault more than it is anybody else's, because he's the one that was just like, I'm going to turn this into my universe. And they were just like, yeah, no, you're fired. Yeah. He's down there with what's his name? Bloody Rhodey. Terrence Howard. So
yeah. Totally. Here's hoping. We'll keep our fingers crossed for the DC universe.
I don't know how many times we can talk about DC and not say the same thing of like, well, hope the next one's good. Like before we stop being the battered housewife when we just get our stuff and leave and go to Marvel's house.
How many questions must be banked? Because I remember the last two podcasts before this, we still had lots of leftover questions from both of them.
Well, what
there
I like,
must be
what I
so
like
many
about
questions
this,
banked now.
Well, because the reason, and I guess insight into the podcast, everybody, the reason I'm the one that makes the choice to usually make the post on the Facebook page of whether or not we should do listener questions this week. And the week we were doing the Cornetto trilogy, there were a lot of specific topic-based questions. I think the reason I give the option of they don't have to relate to topic, that way we can have more broadened and not necessarily focus on the topic questions. And so last week's questions were all pretty much Cornetto trilogy based. And I just feel like that's a weird thing to do, to suddenly have more Cornetto trilogy episodes or questions on not the episode. So just depending on what kind of questions we get on whether or not I will come back. So these questions here are not all, Marvel based inherently. So we can go back to some of these, and even if they are Marvel based, they're not all Doctor Strange based. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, whatever you like. That's your wheelhouse. So you keep track of it all better than I do.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you. I posted this thing today. Today like 5 hours ago. So I woke up. I was like, oh, I need to do the thing. So I was like, let me just post this real quick. Yeah. But yeah, now you guys all know why I choose your questions. So when I say the best ones get right on the show, I mean it.
Should we maybe do one more? Because having said that, we did address the DC question, and we kind of already talked about it twice on the show. So maybe we should get
yes,
because someone will be like, "Hey, I asked a question that wasn't,
Yes. Here, let me see. Oh, that's a DC question.
Okay, one question we already answered from Jake Sindelham. Who do you think will die during the collection of the Infinity Stones by Thanos? We already said Vision.
I put that down as answered on the show. I gave him that reply. It's like answered on the show. That's also my way of saying that so that when I come back next week, I know which questions we've answered or not, so I don't have confusion again. Dean Jones asked a question. He says, if Marvel Studios ever were to acquire the rights to Fantastic Four, who would be your ideal cast, director, writer, etc.? I'll say this. I kind of want Joss Whedon to do it, to do the Fantastic Four, just because I think that's like, if not, because we talked about how we wanted him to do the X-Men film, and if he can't do X-Men, next best thing, let him do Fantastic Four, because at least that'll guarantee that he's done something, that they've done something right with these characters. And if we're talking about get your ideal cast, I thought the casts we originally had, I thought both casts were fine from both iterations of Fantastic Four. So the cast is just, get good actors, and the same goes with writers. I don't know, get Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah.
The guy that wrote Steve Jobs and The Social Network.
Yeah. The novelty of Fantastic Four in the comics when they started was they were the first superhero team.
Yeah.
At least in Marvel's side of things, I'm not sure. Beyond that. But in terms of the movies, that's not special anymore because we got the Avengers, we got all these other things, we got the X-Men. So, like, for the movie, you know what? Since the team aspect is not really appealing, I just kind of want to see something different. So, as crazy as it sounds, I'd actually just pick... I'd like to see the movie that Josh Trank wanted to make that got ruined. I'd just
Would the
be
movie that
curious
Josh
to
Trank
see that.
wanted to make fit in the MCU, though?
Yeah. Well, it probably wouldn't fit the MCU. Not a good answer to the question, but
how about
I'd
like
just
a
like to
Netflix-
see that.
like
I'd just like to
Netflix
see
show?
what he
No,
do.
yeah,
Yeah, but
budget.
it wouldn't really fit in the MCU, would it?
I mean, you could try for Netflix, but the budget wouldn't work. I
Yeah.
don't think so.
Oh, yeah, that would be good.
Yeah,
for
I
Netflix,
just
wouldn't
it's yeah, but you gotta give it like because House of Cards apparently gets 10, not maybe like House of Cards has a budget apparently 10 million or $100 million this season, which is insane. So so maybe if they give it some of that House of Cards money, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, then I
All
think
right, but so yeah, to answer your question of cast and crew, I'd keep all the same cast, all the same crew, but it'd be the movie that Josh Trank originally wanted to make. And would it fit into the MCU? No, but do it anyway. That's my answer.
I just. Bandit's answers, would it fit into the MCU? I don't care.
I just want to see it.
All right, and with that, I think that's a good place to end the show here. Good talk, everybody, talking Doctor Strange, the Marvel stuff, and all the movies that came out this week. Long podcast. Bandit, where can people find you?
People can find me on... Oh, wait. Thanks to our logo for this week, which is Matthew Lucas. Really enjoy You've done us as Batman, Superman, and Green Lantern. You're Jon Stewart.
Yes.
Trey. I'm Batman.
I am. Thank you.
I'm not Superman.
Yep.
Why couldn't I be Superman? Oh, I suppose. But
you got to be in the middle.
Yeah, I guess I have to be. And Trilbee is Superman. I know Trilbee will be very happy with that. And I love how it's got Weekly Planet just crossed out and got Movie Mania.
Yes. I love that, yeah.
Well, we kind of are like the surrogate child of the Weekly Planet now that we have actually had Mr. Sunday Movies on for our 50th episode.
He's given the show its blessing, yeah.
That's right. So thanks so much, Matthew, for that. We really appreciate it, mate.
Yes. Where can people find you, Bandit? Unite the three.
All right, so yes, people can find me on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter as Bandit Incorporated, and they can find you.
They can find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Podcast Media. Join us next week when we talk the final two installments of the Harry Potter franchise, Harry Potter 7 and 8. Rate us on iTunes. We all appreciate it. Yes, I think that's everything. I feel like I'm forgetting something important. I'm not gonna remember till later. But anyways, are we gonna do the thingy?
The Walking Dead. Yeah, we'll record that after this.
No, I'm talking about the Twitter thing that we discussed over the break.
Oh yeah, but I'll animate that video and put it on the channel.
Oh, okay, right on. Then never mind. Forget I said any of that. Catch you all later. Our movie maniacs.